Thank you, Rob Stone. An ideal setting, a scene so important to a rivalry it's been named the Civil War. Welcome to FS1 College Football, presented by Kay Jewelers. Today's Pac-12 matchup featuring the Oregon State Beavers visiting the Oregon Ducks here at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. With former Stanford receiver Evan Moore, I am Chris Myers, and hope you enjoying your Thanksgiving holiday. I know you're going to enjoy Vernon Adams today, Evan, unless you're a member of the defense. He is a seed coming off a 6-touchdown performance. The team, the Ducks, have won 5 straight, averaging 43 points a game during that stretch. And this is a guy, Vernon Adams, who brings entertainment value to every game.
Well, there's no question. Vernon Adams has absolutely caught fire the last 5 weeks since he's been healthy, to the tune of 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions on a 5-game winning streak. Played outstanding football since he's been back, and he's showing just how valuable he is. In addition, having him in the backfield with Royce Freeman, the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year last year, had just over 1,300 yards. This year, just under 1,600 yards as he chases the Pac-12 rushing title alongside Christian McCaffrey from Stanford. Both of those guys will be significant weapons for him today in this rivalry game.
A lot to deal with for the Oregon State defense. Meanwhile, their head coach, Gary Anderson, in his first year, he's had to deal with a lot of injury. Young players, only 11 seniors active on this team. Starting his third different freshman quarterback today is from California, Marcus McMaryion.
Well, the decision to go with Marcus is largely a microcosm of what this team has dealt with all year long, youth and injuries. But Marcus showed enough last week against the University of Washington to warrant his first start today, and it's going to be important for them to get him into rhythm. And by doing that, you're going to find guys like Victor Bolden and Jordan Villamin, 2 very capable receivers for this Oregon State offense, and it's important for them to step up and take some of the load off of this redshirt freshman and allow this team to move the ball here in a hostile environment.
And it is hostile. This rivalry goes back to 1894. This is the 119th meeting today, and whatever the score of the standings, the emotions always run high in the Civil War.
1, 2, 3, let's go! Now Beavers, let's go! Now Beavers, let's go! Now Beavers, drive! Let's go, man! 2, 1, 2, 3!
19th meeting between Oregon State and Oregon. The rivalry began in 1894. Oregon State, formerly the Oregon Agricultural College, won. The rivalry took on the name Civil War in 1929. In 83, it was known as the Toilet Bowl, a scoreless tie. And then 2000, the first time the schools met, ranked in the top 10. The last time Oregon State won the Civil War battle, 2007. And in last year's game, Marcus Mariota put on a stellar performance. The Ducks leading in the series, 62-46 with 10 ties. You see the weather and the setting perfect on this holiday weekend between the Ducks and Beavers in the great state of Oregon. Oregon State won the toss and wanted the football. 17th ranked Oregon kicking off in the shadows. And Victor Bolden will down it, so it is a touchback. And here comes the redshirt freshman from California. Has seen some action, as Evan just talked about, in 6 games. His most extensive work coming last week against Washington, with 8 completions in 16 pass attempts for 109 yards, and had his first touchdown toss.
Yeah, it's going to be important for them in this environment to just get him reps, get him in rhythm. A very difficult place to play in an Oregon defense that has been surging the last few weeks. Expect them to bring pressure here early on, back in their own territory with a young guy under center.
Nall in the backfield, and he gets the carry up across the 32-yard line from Sandy, Oregon, in Central Catholic. One of those freshman players we've talked about, Evan, and one of those impact players today.
Yeah, they've been beaten up a little bit at the running back position. They're going to go with Nall today and rely on him to move that ball down the field and control the tempo of the game. 2 big-time receivers in Victor Bolden and Jordan Villamin, but on defense for Oregon, DeForest Buckner. It's up to him to set the tempo up front like he's done consistently throughout the year. Was a big part of this Oregon defense.
We will see Seth Collins, some at quarterback, some at receiver, as Nall experiencing his first Civil War, the first of many, according to his coach, he hopes. And now Storm Bars Woods, who has been outstanding, has had nagging injuries all season long.
Yeah, one of the things we're seeing right now from this Oregon State offense is Right now on the field, they're huddling. Not something they've done a ton of this year, but it's something they talked about throughout the course of the week. If we're going to control the tempo, there's no need for us to get up to the line in a no-huddle offense. I want to slow things down a little bit, and that starts with huddling before each play.
And try and play keep away from Vernon Adams and that Oregon offense. On 3rd and 3. McMaryion looks to throw. Can he get the first down? Reaching across. DeForest Buckner making the stop right at what looks like the 35-yard line.
It looks like McMaryion here wants to go to the boundary and throw a slant route. And one thing these young quarterbacks have all been able to do throughout the course of the season is be mobile. And once he loses number 1, he tries to get the yards and extend for the first down, which it looks like they're going to give to him.
He did get it, Evan, so 1st and 10, Oregon State. And the coaching staff talked about how well McMaryion, for a freshman, handled a lot of the ups and downs of the quarterback situation this year, and a number of injuries as well. Victor Bolden sets up in the backfield, and now in motion to the bottom of your screen. McMaryion with time, fires and caught up across the 42. Jordan Villamin.
Just like we said in the open, getting Jordan Villamin out in space. Right here, you're going to get the slant route, delivers the ball right out of his break. A little late, and Charles Nelson getting there making a good hit. But good job by Jordan Villamin hanging on to that football and getting yards for this Oregon State offense. The key here is rhythm throws for Marcus McMaryion. You can see that's what they're trying to do, is get these rhythm throws.
Seth Collins checks in, takes the direct snap, and runs for the first down and across midfield. Collins, the freshman who has tried to play some quarterback. He was hurt his athletic ability. They talked about using him at receiver. We're going to see him all over the place.
Yeah, they talked about he really is the best athlete on this football team, they feel. A freshman that played some quarterback, led this team in rushing for most of the season. You're going to see him at receiver, wildcat, in the backfield, all over the place as they try to put on display his athletic ability.
Ryan Nall back in the backfield after an 8-yard pickup. McMaryion wanted to go to Nall and now has to scramble and gets inside the 45-yard line. I mentioned Gary Anderson, first year as the Oregon State head coach, 8th year as a head coach in college football, coming back to the Northwest after a couple of seasons at Wisconsin with a Big Ten West title last year. And of course his run at Utah State, very impressive. Second down 5 from the 44 of the Ducks. That's Nall, who gets inside the 35-yard line. It's another Oregon State first down.
An outstanding job early on by offensive coordinator Dave Baldwin, drawing things up to not only allow his offensive front to try to control tempo against this Oregon front, getting Ryan Nall out off tackle with a pulling guard, but also allowing Marcus McMaryion to get into some rhythm with shorter throws. So important for a young quarterback to get his confidence started early.
And Nall in a wildcat looks like he's ready to take the direct snap. Creative offensive alignments here on this opening drive for the Beavers. And we have a timeout, Oregon State.
First charge timeout, Oregon State.
The early opening, the underdog, Oregon State Beavers on the move. Evan Moore moments ago, a little confusion on this opening drive for Oregon State.
Yeah, going with a little bit of a different formation, bringing receiver Victor Bolden into the backfield. They were looking for a certain look from the defense, and pre-snap it looks like Victor's a little confused there. Oregon State intelligently elects to go with a timeout and get this look right as they head into the Oregon red zone.
Ryan Nall, the Swiss Army knife they call him, because he can play running back, fullback. And here's a little pitch to Seth Collins, who's going to throw the football, and catch made on the sideline by Victor Bolden.
We'll take a look at the feet here, but these are the exact kind of things that happen in rivalry games, these trick plays. A great ball out to Victor Bolden, and he looks like he gets that right foot in before he hits the ground, secures the catch. That's going to be a first down in Oregon territory.
44th catch of the year for Victor Bolden. He's been averaging 10 yards a grab. has also run the ball, averaging over 5 a carry. A pickup of 21. Ryan Nall waiting for the direct snap. Marcus McMaryion is back in, and Nall the handoff as he's thrown down inside the 3-yard line.
Well, Chris, Gary Anderson deserves a lot of credit here, not only for electing to take the ball first, but being very creative on this first drive and realizing that so much of the tempo of this football game is on what they're able to do on this first drive. And they've answered the call, and they're knocking on this end zone right now with a chance to go up 7-0.
And Seth Collins is in at quarterback. He has the football, and he's got a touchdown, Oregon State. What an impressive opening drive for the Beavers here at Autzen Stadium.
Well, once again, Chris, using a number of different guys. On this replay, you'll see them bring Victor Bolden on a jet sweep to create a little bit of misdirection, allowing Seth Collins to get up the middle. You're going to see him in so many different capacities today. The best athlete on this team, and even though he had dealt with some injuries, he's back and he looks healthy as ever right now.
Garrett Owens with the extra point. Seth Collins, not the starting quarterback, but he runs in for his 6th touchdown of the season, and the Beavers have the early lead. Hey Jewelers with Evan Moore and Chris Myers. Hope you're enjoying the Oregon State start to the Civil War. A 75-yard drive. Collins, who had the touchdown run, also threw a pass on that drive, and Nall carried 4 different times. They're doing this without Storm Bars Woods, their leading rusher, who is not dressed for today.
Well, fittingly in a game like this, they're going to leave no clubs in the bag. They've made it very clear on this first drive. They're going to pull out all the stops to put this ball in the end zone, and I love the way they've used Seth Collins here early on, given his athletic ability and how much he means to this offense.
Garrett Owens with the short kick, and it's Charles Nelson, and the ball comes out. Nelson looks like they were able to maintain possession here, even though the ball came out.
That ball comes loose. It's a question of whether or not the Oregon State player was already out of bounds by the time he attempted to possess the football. And it appears that he was out of bounds. This ball's going to stick with Oregon.
Ball was fumbled in the field of play, forward and out of bounds. The ball will be placed back at the spot of the fumble. First down, Oregon.
Vernon Adams starting his 9th game for Oregon. The numbers impressive. Tried to play through an early finger injury. Once this team was 3-3, they have taken off now, winning 5 straight, ranked 17th in the country, and an offense that Evan Moore, you talked about, behind the way. You don't really stop Vernon Adams. You just try to redirect him, and here he hands off to Royce Freeman.
Fittingly on the first play, they're going to look to run the football, and that brings us to our impact players. Royce Freeman, probably the most overlooked back in all of college football. Just a dynamic player. Darren Carrington, a receiver, a guy that came back from suspension from the first part of this year. And on the Oregon State side, Kyle Pecco is going to be big for them as they try to plug this Oregon running game.
Dwayne Stanford, second on the team in catches, makes a grab, and it'll bring up 3rd down. See a little bit of the pushing and shoving.
Just a feature year in and year out of a rivalry game of this magnitude. Fun to watch.
On 3rd down and 2 from the Oregon 30. Freeman into the crowd.
This one's going to be close, and it's impressive to see the energy that these Beavers are coming out with today. Given the season they've had, it's clear this game means a lot to them. They get up and try to plug that hole that Royce Freeman tries to push through.
He got the 1st down.
They're going to give it to him. Royce, such a tough guy in short yardage situations. Sometimes in these spread offenses, we start to believe that maybe he's more of a scat back. He is a powerful 230-pound stud in the backfield, and he shows it right there.
Adams. Stanford has it up near midfield. The 48 of Oregon made it look easy.
Chris, you and I talked about all week, there's such a number of guys at this receiver position for Oregon. It's pick your poison for Vernon Adams. So many weapons on the outside to work with.
Mark Helfrich in his 3rd season as Freeman goes toward the sideline and tries to get another Oregon 1st down.
On that one, we see a great example, too, of this wide receiving core and how important it is for them to get their perimeter blocking. On that one, Darren Carrington on the outside. You're going to see as he gets outside, Darren Carrington right there getting his block. It's what these receivers are asked to do every play.
Isn't the call if you don't block, you don't play,
That's
even
correct.
if you're a receiver? That's
Scott Frost, offensive coordinator, made that very clear. Those guys that don't block will not play because perimeter blocking is so key in this offense, and it's why they lead the Pac-12 in rushing year in and year out.
First down at the 42 of Oregon State. And Griffin is in at running back, the freshman. Adams open. It's Stanford again. His third catch on this drive, but he's still going. Inside the 20 of Oregon State.
Something that probably wasn't emphasized enough early this season is Vernon Adams' ability to be accurate and deliver the ball down the field. When he had a broken finger, I'm not sure that everyone realized how good of a passer he really is. And now that he's healthy, we're seeing that on full display.
And a quick snap as Carrington gets the football.
And almost on cue, another guy suspended for the early part of this season. And since he's come back, they've done extremely well getting him the ball. It's been very valuable to what they do.
We have a flag on the field. Our referee is Michael Mothershed.
Illegal substitution, 12 players on the field. Defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
I guess that's what this offense forces you to do with all the shuffling and the weapons going in and out.
Communication is key on that Oregon State sideline with as quickly as this Oregon offense moves.
Freeman has, it's Bralon Addison, running the other way. And Bralon Addison is in the end zone and touchdown Oregon.
Just a great example of the versatility of this Oregon offense. The Oregon State defense reads this play well. They essentially shut it down, but can't account for the cutback. And Bralon Addison, probably the most versatile weapon on this Oregon offense. He can do so many different things. And when you get a guy that crosses field like that and puts it in the end zone and your defense is in the right place, it's very frustrating as a defensive coordinator.
His second rushing touchdown of this season from 13 yards out. Royce Freeman was in on the play, but it was Bralon Addison who got the carry, reversed field, and found the end zone for the Ducks. That drive of 78 yards and under 3 minutes before the Addison touchdown run. And Vernon Adams was 3 out of 3, and they all went to Stanford.
Dwayne Stanford's role increased in the absence of Darren Carrington earlier this year, and even with Darren Carrington now back, he's shown that he's here to stay as far as making catches as called upon. And Mark Helfrich is very pleased with how well he catches the football.
From the end zone, it's Oldham and brought down across the 17.5-yard line. So they'll start deep in their own territory. But having that last drive, it was creative. A couple of different people taking the snap and different quarterbacks.
Yeah, I like what they're doing with Marcus McMaryion, establishing a little bit of rhythm and also bringing in Seth Collins to feature his athletic ability. So big for this offense. And on the touchdown, Seth Collins shooting right up the middle after a little bit of misdirection. Great plan on that first drive by offensive coordinator Dave Baldwin.
Nall in the backfield for McMaryion from the 17. Nall looking for a place to go. Well, maybe a yard before being gang tackled there by the Ducks.
I think we're seeing more of today for this Oregon State offense as well. There's more tight ends on the field. We've seen several plays already where they've had 2 tight ends on the field. Not something they've done a ton of this year, but in an effort to run the ball more efficiently, eat up a little bit more clock, and establish a little bit more tempo, it'd be very helpful to get these tight ends a little more involved.
Ryan Nall. And nothing. DeForest Buckner, who leads the team in sacks at 8.5 and is among the top 3 in tacklers on this defense making the play.
Well, Chris, this is their guy. This is their ringleader on the defensive side of the ball. He's essentially playing with one hand. He's had some injury issues on that hand throughout the year. Still getting double and triple teamed. He just wreaks havoc in the backfield for all of their opponents.
See the time of possession, part of the Oregon State game plan, as Evan pointed out. Try and play keep away on 3rd and 7. That's Nall splitting out as a receiver. McMaryion, and incomplete. It was tipped.
A tip ball.
Mondo with the tipped and the deflection.
One thing you always want your defensive linemen to do when Oregon State's looking to get the ball out quick is get those hands up in throwing lanes, and that's on the Oregon State offensive line to make sure they're not able to do that. Henry Mondu did a great job on that one. A young player that's really come along for them on that defensive front.
From Jesuit High School in Portland. Nick Porepsky back. And Bralon Addison waiting to receive. Fair catch waved for, and at the 42 of Oregon, the Ducks will take over. An ideal setting for a fall clash of Oregon and Oregon State. This Invitational concludes tonight. Doubleheader, including West Virginia taking on San Diego State in the championship game. It begins after the game here on FS1. Oregon State trying to get its first victory this season in conference. The Ducks 6-2 in the Pac-12. Trying to push their record to 9-3, win their 6th straight, and advance bowl possibilities. Taj Griffin checks into the backfield. It was mostly Royce Freeman on that first touchdown drive for Vernon Adams on the ground. This pass complete to Addison, who had the touchdown run, and he gets up near midfield.
Well, this coaching staff in Oregon is thrilled with the role they found for Taj Griffin. You see there, he's just as impactful as a decoy as anything else. They expect to get him out on a screen play. They fake the screen to him and throw the ball the other way and create some space for Bralon Addison to get up the sideline.
Vernon Adams with plenty of time and heaving it downfield. And it's Addison again. Catch made.
You notice there, Chris, what made that play go was the protection up front. He gets a lot of time to stand there and find his second read. You see right there what Vernon Adams has become very good at is shuffling in the pocket and keeping his eyes downfield when number 1 isn't open and moving on to his second and third read, that time for a big gain.
Gain of 25 and going for it all in the end zone, and it floated. Did he catch it? No. Out of bounds. And it was Griffin flying down that sideline.
Taj Griffin running the wheel route out of the backfield, looking for a matchup against a linebacker or safety, which he'll outrun every single time. Ball floated just a little bit, forcing him to get too close to that sideline. The question is if that left foot was down when he actually possessed the ball, because the right foot came down out of bounds. It looks like they're going to move forward without reviewing this play. It was close, though.
Fakes to Addison, and Vernon is going to keep Adams knocked down at about the 23-yard line. Jonathan Willis, another freshman from this Oregon State team, coming up to make the tackle.
Once again on this Oregon offense, we see the number of different weapons they have and the number of different ways to create misdirection with all these different guys and working off tendencies, trying to get Vernon Adams out in some space.
3rd down and 7. Ball's bouncing around. What a play by Adams just to come up with it. Flips to Freeman, and it's incomplete.
Somewhat of a risky play. Probably like to see Vernon Adams just jump on that thing and kill the down. Just fumbles the snap. It appeared to be right in his hands, unable to corral it. Maybe looked up a little bit before that ball came. That center, Matt Hegarty's been a great presence for them up front. He was a transfer from Notre Dame, filled in for an All-American a year ago. He's been a big guy for them up front, but that time Vernon Adams just couldn't handle the snap. Had to settle for 3.
Aiden Schneider, 19 of 20 field goals this year from 39 yards away to give the Ducks the lead. It's not going to make it. His previous lone miss was against Washington from 32 yards out.
With the year he's had, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that thing was tipped. We'll see a replay here, but it definitely didn't come out clean. I would assume that an Oregon State player certainly got their hand on that ball. Very difficult to tell there.
It looked like it might have hit one of the linemen who were pushed back. Kyle Pecco with the pressure, and Gary Anderson says that's the way to keep this thing close.
Kind of breaks you need on the road here in a game like this.
And it's Seth Collins on the move across the 25 of Oregon State.
Just to give the fans an idea of how valuable Seth Collins is, over the course of this season, this Oregon State offense has averaged about 180 rushing yards a game. Just under 80 of those have been Seth Collins. Now, they don't necessarily want their quarterback to run that often, sometimes to the detriment of their passing game, but he's proven he's a weapon. There's no question about that.
Ryan Nall comes back in, but that was some of the frustration with Oregon State, is that they had people open, they just couldn't get them the football. One of the reasons they tried McMaryion as the starter today. And McMarion's throw is intercepted. Midfield, it's a takeaway, and Charles Nelson, once an offensive star, with the pickoff in the secondary.
Well, Charles Nelson, such a valuable guy on both sides of the ball. He's essentially playing center field here, and he's going to read the quarterback's eyes. And as a rookie mistake, McMaryion stares down his receiver just a little too long and overthrows him. And Charles Nelson is there. And Chris, all week long we talked about how valuable Charles Nelson is. He's such a great player. Frustrating the young guy, Marcus McMaryion. Fortunately for this Oregon State team, we've heard plenty about McMarion's ability to bounce back from stuff like this when things don't go his way. That's why they decided to go with him today. And it'll be important for him to shrug that off, because he's got to lead this offense several more times today to keep this thing right there for the Beavers.
Ducks miss a field goal, but then get the takeaway. And Royce Freeman, here's a whistle and a flag before that play got going.
False start. 62 offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
That's on Matt Pearson, and one of those seniors, Evan, on the offensive line, along with Matt Haggerty and Tyler Johnstone, that have been outstanding, that Vernon Adams has complimented every time he's been complimented about his play.
Yeah, respectfully, Vernon Adams likes to point the credit elsewhere on this offense. He's tired of getting all the credit, as he realizes how much of a collective effort this really is for this Ducks offense.
Back up to the Oregon 47. Adams has it. He'll pitch it. That's Bralon Addison, who's dragged down by his shirt before he went out of bounds. It's all the way around to the 43 of Oregon State.
Once again, creating a little bit of misdirection, getting the ball out to Bralon Addison, and credit the Oregon State defense. They're going to have to make tackles out in space, because this is what this Oregon offense tries to do.
Quick snap. Adams, can he get away? He does from one, and goes out of bounds with a first down. Boy, they don't hesitate. Somebody comes out, they snap the ball. Now, how about the Oregon State defense? Is it usually a 3-3-5? And I'm not sure exactly how they're lining up here.
Yeah, once again, the perimeter blocking of the Oregon offense. These receivers getting on guys. And all day long, it'll be on these second-level guys for the Oregon State defense to make the plays out in space, which is very, very tough to do against the Oregon offense.
Vernon Adams, and it's knocked away. An excellent defensive play in the secondary.
Vernon Adams trying to thread the needle a little bit down the seam, throwing a seam route to his receiver.
Adam Sussman
getting back just enough to get a hand on it. Usually tip balls will create interceptions. In that case, nobody else was in the area, but stopped a big play for the Beaver defense.
Griffin in. And because of injury at linebacker for Oregon State, they've had to mix and match. And this is Adams, keeps and goes nowhere. Brought down around the 36-yard line.
Yeah, Kalani Sitake, though, coordinator for this Oregon State defense, has these guys playing disciplined football. That time they elect to bring some pressure off the edge to the field confuses Vernon Adams just enough to get him to stop his feet, allowing them to make the tackle in the backfield.
On 3rd down and 10, Adams is going to get rid of it, and catch made. What a play to Darren Carrington.
When you get enough pressure and you're able to get in front of Vernon Adams, you've got to bring him down, because those eyes are going to continue to stay downfield, and if he finds open guys, he's shown he has the ability to let it go. But this Oregon State defense has not been able to get pressure on the passer enough this year, and they do it right there. They just got to get him down and not allow him to find guys late in the downs, because these receivers are too dangerous down the field.
Adams 5'11" and 200 pounds, but hung tough to slip that tackle and complete the pass as Griffin carries. It was a gain of 18 and sets him up inside now the 15 of Oregon State. Adams, remember, missed 3 games, most of the loss to Utah due to that broken finger that was suffered in the season opener against Eastern Washington, his old school. Played against Michigan State with the ailing finger. Oregon 2-3 during that stretch. As Griffin carries, and Griffin is in the end zone. Touchdown.
Once again, running the speedy freshman Taj Griffin off tackle. And Sussman from Oregon State was in position, but such a tough guy to tackle out in space. As you see here, they give him a chance to get out in space. Taj Griffin, such a dynamic guy in the open field, just gives him enough of a stutter step to avoid the tackle and march into the end zone.
3rd rushing touchdown of the season. The freshman from Powder Springs, Georgia, after the extra points. And the Ducks behind Taj Griffin this time, lead 14-7. One college football presented by Kay Jewelers. Autzen Stadium, it opened in 1967. Back then, 12,000 seats added. Named after Thomas J. Autzen, who was a Portland lumberman and philanthropist. And the Ducks leading 14-7 now, kicking off. Let's get a game break and check in a Lowe's game break with Jenny Taft. Jenny?
Thanks, Chris. 4th-ranked Iowa visiting Nebraska, trying to keep their undefeated season alive, but a costly turnover for the Hawkeyes would cost them. The Cornhuskers take advantage. Amani Cross, 4-yard touchdown to tie this one up at 7 in the 2nd quarter. Chris?
All right, thank you, Jenny. Damian Haskins has checked in at running back. They've used Ryan Nall much of the game with McMaryion at quarterback and Seth Collins mixed in. Collins has the touchdown for the Beavers today. Haskins brought down right away. Remember, without Storm Bars Woods, who it's tough in your last game as a senior, one of the top 5 rushers in school history, for him not to be dressed for this, that has to be difficult.
It's not only his production, but also his presence on the sideline and on the field for this team. He's a leader, one of the more productive players to ever put on a Beaver uniform. It's tough not to have him out there today.
McMaryion under pressure and goes down. The Ducks defense with a sack. Oregon has the lead after the opening quarter of the Civil War here in Eugene. We're glad you're watching college football on FS1.
That's the end of the 1st quarter.
Part of the 2nd quarter, Oregon State scored first. The Ducks now with a 14-7 lead.
Well, Chris, expect to see more of this right here, bringing these guys up in a 34 defensive front to really take away this run game and crash it. And you'll see coming off the edge here, Tyson Coleman, who's had an outstanding year for this Ducks defense, trying to put this game in the hands of Marcus McMaryion, forcing him to throw the ball. Now, this Ducks secondary has struggled at times this year. Has allowed a lot of passing yards over the course of the season, but they're willing to see if McMaryion can do that against this defense rather than getting beat on the ground.
1 out of 3. McMaryion facing a 3rd down and 14. Nall and Bolden in the backfield with him. And that's Bolden on the move at the receiver spot, bottom of your screen. McMaryion with a moment. There's a flag down. He is hit hard. Buckner got to him.
He had Victor Bolden down the field with about a 14-yard hook route, but took a monster hit by DeForest Buckner, and that pass was thrown.
Personal foul, illegal hands to the face, number 64. That penalty is declined, 4th down.
DeForest Buckner doing what he's done all year long, getting pressure, wrecking shop in that backfield. And he does just that with the bull rush, throws the offensive lineman aside and makes a clean hit on McMaryion.
Buckner at 6'7". No need to accept the penalty. The punting unit on. Addison standing back at the 40 of Oregon. And backing up to the 30. Trying to get up the sideline, get some of that back. Return up around the 39-yard line after a 51-yard punt. First quarter numbers with Evan Moore, Chris Myers. Great scenery here, by the way, when you look beyond the stadium. And what jumps out at you early, obviously the turnover helped turn things after the field goal.
Well, the other thing that jumps out at me there is Oregon State winning the time of possession battle. But as we joked about this week with defensive coordinator from Oregon State, Kalani Sitake, he recognized that, hey, a lot of teams try to play keep away from the Oregon offense, but it doesn't always work because they can score a lot of points even with less plays. So it's something to keep in mind here for this Oregon State team as strategy starts to take a bigger effect as we get later into this game.
Adams to a wide open Jaylen Brown, who is brought down at the 45-yard line. Vernon Adams coming in, completing over 63% of his throws, more than 2,000 yards, 22 touchdowns. He's also run for a couple of scores. But the touchdowns today have come on the ground from Addison and Griffin. This is Freeman with a big hole. Royce Freeman slips a tackle and gets a first down around the 40 of Oregon State.
When you bring a corner up in cloud coverage like they do here to the field, it's important for those corners to be able to make tackles in space. And that time they were unsuccessful in doing that against Royce Freeman, giving them a first down.
Freeman again after he picked up 13 on the previous carry. Sophomore from Imperial, California. He was the Pac-12 Offensive Freshman of the Year last year when he ran for over 1,300 yards. And it's funny, you think of a spread offense, you don't think about a running game, but he puts up big numbers. Came in averaging over 6.5 a carry. This is Adams, wide open and off the fingertips of Freeman, who could have sailed into the end zone had he been able to hang on to the sun over there in some shadows. I'm not making excuses because it was zipped to him.
Yeah, he gets on an isolation route out of the backfield. Once again, matched up with the linebacker. Just need a little bit of a touch throw there, and he's unable to do that, which certainly would have gone for 6. But Royce Freeman, you alluded to it earlier, just a special player in his short time here so far at Oregon. A guy that they feel just has a ton of ability.
Now Griffin is in, who has a touchdown run. He spins out of a tackle, and there goes Taj Griffin. Out of bounds inside the 10.
Great physical run by Taj Griffin, a guy that's only 5'10", 175. You wouldn't expect him to be breaking too many tackles at that size, but he does just that here. Spins out of that one and shows a burst to get up the sideline. Just stepping out of bounds, otherwise that thing goes for 6.
Catching a breather. Freeman back in at running back. And Adams for the end zone and falls short.
Adams had his offensive lineman pushed back into him just briefly. And Chris, as we mentioned a minute ago, as you'll see here,
looks like a wounded duck.
It's a little bit rushed on that play.
And Freeman back in the backfield on 2nd and 10. He has the football and closing in on defense. Strong tackling against Kyle Pecco, who had played nose tackle and has kind of moved to the outside. The senior up front from La Habra, California. Cerritos Junior College.
He's been a bright spot for them on this defense. A guy that has missed some time the last couple years for academic issues. But they've been thrilled with the way he's responded, pushed through some personal adversity he was dealing with. Probably the most dynamic player on this defense and the biggest disruptor on this front seven.
On 3rd and 7, Vernon Adams underneath in the middle of the field. Down to the 5. Dwayne Stanford, who in that opening drive caught all 3 of Adams' passes, back in the picture here, and it's 1st and goal.
A little bit of a rub route with Dwayne Stanford and tight end Evan Bayless crossing paths and creating a little bit of space to get Dwayne Stanford the football.
Adams 8 out of 13 so far. They picked up 12. Carrington in motion goes to the slot. Freeman's the back. Adams on the move. Throws back. An unusual play to Tyler Johnstone, who was the offensive lineman, and Tristan Decoud make the tackle on a weird-looking play.
Well, we call this a tackle eligible, getting the senior and the anchor out on the edge, and the idea is to get it with nobody in his way so he can pretty much walk in, but this thing was read well by the Oregon State defense, and as good as Tyler Johnstone is, I don't think we expect him to be breaking any tackles and walking into the end zone.
Well, an excellent defensive play. So a loss of 6. I told you this was going to be entertaining. Adams with time, but couldn't find anybody, and he's going to go down. Oregon State with the sack.
Chris, this is essentially a coverage sack. The Oregon State defense doing a great job of staying on their guys, as you'll see here. Not falling for any misdirection or two-man routes. And there's nowhere for Vernon Adams to go. And he tried to stay on his 1st, 2nd, and 3rd reads. And they got just enough pass rush at the very end to turn that into a big loss for the Oregon offense.
So they had a 1st and goal, now backed up. And spreading the field here. Defensive personnel adjustments made for Oregon State. Addison has it, but is not going to get into the end zone. So an important stand for Oregon State.
Well, Bralon Addison sure is going to get his running in over the course of the day. It's amazing how much they do with him pre-snap to try to get him in matchup situations and showcase his versatility.
I think fans thought maybe there was some extra shoving or hitting going on out of bounds there. Devin Chappelle, who is from Springfield, Oregon, nearby, it's practically Eugene, and played at Western Oregon, where he had an interception against Vernon Adams when Adams was at Eastern Washington. He's the one who made the play, and now Schneider to try a 25-yard field goal after missing earlier. He's back on target. The Ducks add 3. An ideal fall day for football in the Pacific Northwest. Kay Jewelers, a 12-play drive, almost 5 minutes, wound up scoring a field goal, but that's a big win for Oregon State.
Yeah, as Oregon enters that red zone where they've been incredibly efficient this year, big win for the Oregon State defense to hold them to 3 points. Oregon coming with 17 unanswered points. Time for Oregon State to do something offensively here.
The fans enjoying the fact that the underdog Oregon State Beavers are hanging with the 17th ranked Ducks. The Ducks have won the last 7 meetings head-to-head in this rivalry. Victor Bolden bringing it out. And spins across the 20-yard line. Let's check in with Jenny Taft in the studio for a game break. Jenny?
Well, Chris, here's an update between Iowa and Nebraska. It was a tie game until an unfortunate mistake from Tommy Armstrong results in a pick six for Parker Hesse to give the Hawkeyes the 14-7 lead in the second quarter. I'll keep you guys posted.
Thank you, Jenny. Evan, later I want to get your thoughts on the four teams in the college football playoff. Your thoughts on the Heisman race. I know you think Vernon Adams was a guy, if he was healthy all year, who would have been in that mix. Ryan Nall waiting for in the backfield with McMaryion for the handoff, and gets up just short of the 25-yard line.
Yeah, once again, Chris, bringing guys up in this defense to plug these different gaps and either provide pressure if Oregon State elects to pass the ball or stuff gaps in the run game.
Timeout for an injury on the field.
And just do their best to force Marcus McMaryion to beat them with his arm.
It's Alex Balducci on the defense, the injured player. We'll check on him in return. Balducci was able to walk over to the Oregon sideline himself, has more than 30 tackles through the 11 games this season, being checked on. So Rex Manu will come in for him up front on the Ducks defense. That after that opening drive by Oregon State has kept them in check. Charles Nelson with an interception. The Ducks on defense, and there is Manu. Seth Collins is in at quarterback. He has the touchdown run for Oregon State. McMaryion, the starter, 1 out of 4 through the air so far, and Nall the back. On 2nd and 7. Collins shows some speed and gets what looks to be a first down. He crosses through, and he's got it. 1st and 10, Beavers.
Well, Chris, as we hit on early on, trying to get Seth Collins in space with a little bit of misdirection. Seth Collins is coming off a little bit of an injury, so they didn't feel comfortable putting him under center for the better part of the game, but they were going to find different ways to use him to showcase his ability. In that case, a big first down run. Start this drive off the right way for the Beavers.
A pickup of 8, 2 tight ends in from the 32. Ryan Nall the carry, but nowhere to go. And Nall, one of those freshman players at 6'2" and over 250.
Rodney Hardrick getting there nicely to plug up that gap. A guy on this defense that is a leader and a big presence for them. Defensive coordinator Don Pelham has talked a lot about the fact that this guy's going to be coaching one day. He said some guys want to be a coach. This guy should be a coach. Rodney Hardrick is an outstanding player for this defense.
On 2nd and 10. McMarion's pass juggled on the sideline, but held on to. His tight end, Noah Togiai. Let's take a closer look at the footwork.
Looks like that toe barely gets in and secures the ball all the way to the ground. Togiai, a young guy, a 6'4", 215-pound freshman that I feel very good about. He's very explosive. Just want to get him more opportunities.
Collins, a receiver. He's in the slot between the 2 receivers at the top of your screen. On 3rd and 6. McMaryion with plenty of time throws high, and the ball knocked loose. Victor Bolden had his hands on it, but Reggie Daniels came up. There's a flag down, and McMaryion is down, or at least someone in the backfield. Sorry, McMaryion is helping him up.
I have fouls on both teams. Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 81 offense, and number 12 on the defense. Those fouls will offset. That will count as the first unsportsmanlike conduct foul for number 81 and number 12.
So Togiai and then Chris Cisse. I told you, I said, what did I do?
Given that this was not a combative penalty, they're not going to be able to replay this down. They're going to end up with 4th and 6. And on that play, Marcus McMaryion found Victor Bolden against his own defense, and those holes are tight. That ball has to come quick, and Victor Bolden has to kind of sit in that void, and that time he didn't do that and took a big hit.
Nick Porepsky back to punt. Bralon Addison waiting to receive. Just over 7 minutes to go here in the first half. Fair catch called for at the 27-yard line, and that's where Vernon Adams and the Oregon offense will take over, leading 17-7. The Nissan Heisman watch: Derrick Henry from Alabama, Watson of Clemson, Christian McCaffrey from your old school at Stanford.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year for these 4 spots. They've been in flux. We had guys added and subtracted, but it's worth noting here that I don't think there's one person in Eugene that doesn't think that Vernon Adams would be in this race had he been healthy all year long with all this talent offensively here in Oregon.
And Royce Freeman battling Christian McCaffrey for the Pac-12 rushing title. Here's a flag right away.
False start. Number 73 offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Going back to Adams today, he's 9 out of 14, already over 100 yards. But when you look at the numbers, and that's with the injuries that we talked about, missing some of the games, playing hurt through some of those, he's a difference maker. And you wonder where Oregon would be if he were healthy from the start. Graduate senior as Freeman carries. Kind of an unusual one and done, but what he's done is amazing. Kind of stopping in here, lighting it up when he's healthy, and then moving on.
Well, it's fascinating what he's been able to do. He came in as a 5th-year senior that hadn't been in this program at all, and they essentially added him as the college form of free agency late in the year, or I'm sorry, late in his career. Unbelievable how he's commanded this offense since arriving on campus.
Quick pass to Stanford again, who's loose. Blaine Stanford, who's already had quite a few catches in this game.
There's Dwayne Stanford here running a little tunnel screen, trying to get him in space. It's kind of a compliment to their running game, throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage, allowing guys to get loose and get downfield with this speed.
21-yard gain, his 5th catch of this game. Royce Freeman the carry, and kind of methodically works his way up to the 47-yard line.
Chris, on the heels of that play, one of the biggest misconceptions in college football is people think the spread offense equals chucking the ball around and throwing for all these yards, but this Oregon team, they place a priority and an emphasis on running the football. It really is their identity, and although they run the spread, they are a run-first team. They've led the Pac-12 in rushing for several years now.
On their way to their 10th straight season of leading the Pac-12 in rushing yards is Griffin, who has a touchdown run, dances around, and Freeman with the 235 carries, already over 1,500 yards. And last year against Oregon State, he had 135 yards in that game.
It's a head-scratcher as to why he doesn't get more attention nationally, given how successful he's been in this system. This is a team that is number 5 in the country in rushing yards per game, over 280 yards a game.
We have an injured player. It's Kyle Haley, as they check on him on the Oregon State side of things.
He made a big hit at the end of that play on Royce Freeman. As you'll see here, he comes in late, and he lays the wood on Taj Griffin. Unfortunately, might have got bent back a little bit there as he went down to his knees.
Kendall Hill, part of that clamp down on Griffin. And being helped over to the sideline, the junior, Golden West Community College, and from Anaheim, California. Only 11 active seniors for this Oregon State team. And you talked about it from the start, Evan, about how injuries and youth have kept this team from having more success in the win column. Adams with time. dumps it off. Kirk Merritt out of the 40 of Oregon State.
Well, Chris, we see here again, as he gets this ball out in the flat to Kirk Merritt, more receivers looking to get blocks down the field to spring him for a few extra yards, just enough to give him space to get down the field. Vernon Adams, again, keeping his eyes downfield and finding his third or fourth option. Something most quarterbacks take a very long time to figure out. He's made it second nature.
Adams fires complete. Kirk Merritt again. Kirk Merritt, end zone, touchdown Ducks. No, they're going to say he's out of bounds. Hang on. They're saying he's out of bounds inside the 10. There's a flag down as well. And I'm sorry if the shadow's over there. It's a little bit difficult to see.
Holding, number 73 offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Crosby called for the penalty.
Well, just as we referenced this wide receiving core's ability to block, we get a guy down the field making a holding call, trying to spring Kirk Merritt to get down the field, because this was after the catch, so they're going to get the first down and still get the big play. But as we see here, Vernon Adams with his pinpoint accuracy threads the needle there in the middle of the field for a big play for the Oregon Ducks.
So the penalty backs them up, keeps them out of the end zone. Adams on the move. He's going to keep it and go out of bounds down around the 11-yard line. Might be good enough for another first down, and it is.
A little bit of a balancing act for these receivers, too, as we've referenced so many times. As Vernon Adams gets outside the pocket, he has a throw-first mentality. Watch these eyes. These eyes stay down the field. He's saying, is anyone open? The receivers have to then make a decision. Do I block or do I look for the football? On that time, they spring a block and get him some extra yards.
And Freeman met hard right away. An excellent defensive play. Kyle Becko's been all over the field today. Number 99 for Oregon State, playing in his last game as a collegian.
Becko's got a chance to be an impact player at the next level as well. A big guy, 6'1", 305 pounds.
They add up around Thanksgiving.
They do, that's correct. Might have been 300 yesterday, but he's 305 today.
That was a 2-yard loss. Second and goal. There comes a flag.
False start, number 81 offense. 5-yard penalty, second down.
That call on Evan Bayless, the tight end.
Well, they're going to get Evan Bayless here, but they've had their share of issues pre-snap so far today with a number of different guys. And sometimes it's something that happens with an offense that has this much tempo, with this much energy in a game like this. You get guys moving around a little bit pre-snap, and they can really hurt a drive if you can't harness those as this game goes on.
Adams to Royce Freeman. A lot of room to run. But he'll be stopped inside the 5.
Once again, Vernon Adams looking down the field, and this time the Oregon State offense, the Oregon State defense buys it, and everyone moves deep on this play. And once that ball is snapped, Royce Freeman leaks out in the flat, and there's just nobody there, leaving way too much room for essentially a blown coverage.
He had a chance having to run the daylight, or in this case sunlight, but it closed up in a hurry with a number of the Oregon State defenders getting over there. So now it's third and goal. Royce Freeman stonewalled and still pushing and shoving. Haven't heard a whistle yet. Touchdown! A delayed response. Somehow he worked his way through the crowd.
Well, Chris, from up here, it appeared that forward progress had stopped, and as you mentioned, we were waiting for that whistle. But apparently down there on the field, those legs of Royce Freeman just keep moving and churning and moving that pile, as you see right here. That pile really never stops, that gradual motion forward. And the referees smartly elect to let this play continue.
And they're going to review as they want to make sure It's so difficult to tell as they look at every angle.
Well, the question's going to be whether or not that ball actually crossed the goal line, because they can't go back and review this thing and say that his forward progress was stopped. That's a subjective call on the field.
Well, there sounded like a whistle before the hands went up. I saw a member of the Ducks offensive line give a very early signal, but of course that's a biased view. There's Johnstone, who had the catch.
Well, it's clear these officials did not step in and say the whistle was blown. They're waiting to see whether or not this ball actually crossed the goal line. And I'd say from this angle and the ones we've seen before this, it's incredibly difficult to tell.
A lot of legs and feet dancing around. Let's listen after review.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
We'll count it as a 3-yard run. But it looked like it was in a crowd of 33 people for Royce Freeman. His 13th rushing touchdown of this season and his first today. And with the extra point, the Ducks will have a 24-7 lead. Aiden Schneider, good on extra points, 1 out of 2 on field goals today, and that one is no good. It's blocked. And it got through. Actually, it did get through, even though it was blocked. Okay. Let's take a closer look and give him the points. Hand up, ball through. That was Pecco again, but it's 24-7. Ducks surfing in celebration. Kind of a duck mosh pit. I don't know, Evan, work with me here.
Must not be as big as that costume makes him look, and they finally lost it.
I'll tell you, the running game has uplifted the Ducks today, with Freeman scoring the 3rd touchdown on the ground. And here comes Victor Bolden for the Beavers. Gets up to the 22. Hey, what's up? Let's check in Los Angeles. Rob Stone, what's happening?
Coming up on the State Farm Halftime, we check in on the 108th edition of the Apple Cup between Washington State and Washington. That one over on Fox. Plus, number 4 Iowa, they look to finish the regular season undefeated. And we'll show you one of the best catches of the season, courtesy of Houston, in an upset win. Chris, Evan, we'll see you guys at the break.
Thanks, Rob. Look forward to that. While the Ducks are celebrating, Washington leads Washington State at the half, 17-3. Oregon would be alone in second in the Pac-12 North. If that score stands, and it stands here, Seth Collins is in at quarterback and on the run for Oregon State. Incomplete.
Well, Chris, as you said it, there's implications here beyond just what's going on here on the field today. Bigger picture, Oregon still looks at possibly an at-large bid in one of the New Year's Six Bowls, depending on some success Stanford has late. Are they able to get into a playoff as a 2-loss team? It's not out of the question. And also potentially a Fiesta Bowl bid as an at-large team as they continue to impress people in the national spotlight.
Elfrich's team travels well. An exciting offense. It's entertaining as Collins remains the quarterback for Oregon State. He leads this team in rushing and carries there despite missing time. He has 3 100-yard rushing games, but as you pointed out, Evan, they need to find somebody that can throw the ball downfield.
Yeah, as we know, Oregon State in the last few years has had a lot of success as a pro-style attack with quarterback Sean Mannion last year. And they're running an entirely different offense now. And as they've said a couple times, we have some square pegs and round holes with an older personnel group trying to fit some of the stuff we're doing.
The 2:17. Thank you.
Oregon takes the timeout. You see the yardage that they have put up. And what a game we have for you tomorrow. 6th ranked Notre Dame taking on 9th ranked Stanford. It's the biggest game of the weekend. Both teams trying to move into position for the college football playoff. It all starts tomorrow, 7 Eastern, on your local Fox affiliate. With Evan Moore, who attended Stanford, not Chris Myers. I attended Fox and FSU or FS1 University. So we have that right. But glad you're watching college football on this holiday weekend on FS1, and hope you check out Fox's college football over the weekend. I know who you're rooting for.
A lot of big ones, big implications in that game. The winner of the Stanford-Notre Dame game comes away with a huge win for their resume as they try to vie for position in that college football playoff.
Ryan Nall In the backfield blocking for Collins, who's going to have to keep. It's up across the 25-yard line. And we have another timeout for Oregon. They'll have one remaining. They'll have at the 2:11 mark before the half. This team, and he's a native of Oregon. He knows a lot about this Civil War, this rivalry in state. Only 50 miles separating the two schools from Corvallis and Eugene, and the Ducks with the upper hand. They won the last 7 head-to-head. Nick Porevsky punting to Addison, who calls for the fair catch at the 33-yard line. And this Oregon offense, you know, they have an NCAA record streak of 79 consecutive games with a touchdown pass. Looking for their 80th today. They broke the Texas Tech record of 69 straight earlier this year. They don't have a touchdown pass yet. They've been on the ground very solid today.
Yes, this team leads the conference in rushing for a reason. So many different guys out of the backfield, including Bralon Addison here, switching field for a touchdown. Taj Griffin, the dynamic young guy, out of the backfield. And we all know Royce Freeman all too well and what he's been able to do with this powerful rushing game for the Oregon Ducks.
Adams comes out firing, passes batted away.
Chris, you referenced this Oregon staff, understanding this rivalry. Most people don't realize this Oregon staff is the longest tenured coaching staff in college football. A lot of these guys were here before Mark Helfrich even became head coach back in the Chip Kelly and Mike Bellotti days, which resulted in a lot of success with that kind of continuity year in and year out.
Adams pass. Caught by Carrington up across the 40. Winning the Pac-12 title last year. Taking Oregon to the first college football championship game. Scott Frost, former Nebraska quarterback, offensive coordinator.
There you see Scott Frost there. Deserves a lot of credit for bringing this new quarterback into this system in Vernon Adams and getting him to play at this level in such a short amount of time. Very, very impressive.
Sideline catch made by Freeman. And gets the first down going out of bounds. Again, Oregon with one timeout remaining.
Vernon Adams has done is made Scott Frost want more. He desperately wishes he could have Vernon Adams for maybe three more years like he normally would get. Unfortunately, that's not going to be possible, but he is effusive in his praise for the play of Vernon Adams.
And you wonder, something we'll talk about in the second half, who's going to be the quarterback next year once Vernon Adams has moved on after his bowl game as Freeman carries to midfield.
One of the interesting points Scott made is that when Marcus Mariota was here, he played as a young guy, and they went through a period of time where they struggled to get big-time recruits because they knew Marcus Mariota was going to be the starter.
Addison goes out of bounds with a first down catch.
Created a little bit of a void in the recruiting pipeline at this quarterback position. Too many young recruits knew if they came here they likely would not be playing with a guy like Mariota under center, but now that he's gone, they like what they have here and they like what they have going forward from a commitment standpoint. The future looks bright.
After a pickup of 13, Adams with time, middle of the field. Addison has it. It's going to be a touchdown, Ducks. And there's your touchdown pass today.
Well, one of the things that's going to happen as you continue to give different looks pre-snap like this Oregon team does with all these weapons and spreading you out is eventually you're going to start to get some communication errors with the Oregon State defense and some blown coverages. And that finally happened here for the Oregon offense. It's inevitable that they're going to cause teams to get confused pre-snap as they try to account for all the different guys that they have on that side of the ball. And this time, it hurts the Beavers big as they get 7 right before the half.
Aiden Schneider on. He has 62 consecutive point afters made, despite the last one being blocked by Pecco. It made it through. That one is clean, so 63 in a row for him. And they're clapping over on the Oregon sideline.
Well, as we said before, you're going to see a big void here in the middle of the field in a cover 2 look. And unfortunately, the linebacker doesn't get any depth. It's just a vertical route. It's a blown coverage with no depth from the linebacker. That linebacker has to bail and get back and help his safeties out. And Vernon Adams is able to see Bralon Addison and just lob it up to him for an easy 6. Way too easy, but as I said, as they spread things out, communication is key on the Oregon State defense. And they had a lapse there, and unfortunately these lapses can be very, very costly.
6 plays covering 66 yards. Addison, the only player in the country with touchdowns by run, catch, thrown pass, and punt return. And making the grab here. Getting ready to kick off with the 31-7 advantage. Holden on the return and knocked out afterwards. With Evan Moore, Chris Myers enjoying the game here at Autzen Stadium, and welcome to our view, and hope you're enjoying your Thanksgiving weekend here. Impressive performance by the Oregon Ducks. It started out Oregon State keeping the slow pace, playing keep away, but once the Ducks heat up, pretty much been the story in this winning streak of 5 straight coming in.
Well, I think Oregon State initially did what they wanted to do, is establish a little bit of rhythm, get a 7-0 lead, but now we see 31 unanswered points by this Oregon offense. Kind of what we expected going into this thing to a certain extent.
On first down, McMaryion back in. He's rotated with Seth Collins. A solid run by Nall. All the way up to the 35-yard line. Looks like a flag.
Holding, number 51 offense. 10-yard penalty. First down.
That call on Cammy Delp. Talk about guys who've had good weeks. Congratulations to Evan and the Moore family this week. A proud new dad for the second time, and best to the family. Everybody doing all right?
Everybody's doing really well. Our little girl Charlie's back home, getting some sleep, and Mom's doing well. You guys had to do this to me. This is a soft spot for me, man. I'm an emotional guy.
Yeah, that's okay. This is an emotional game. You know, it's part of what we do, but that is, talk about all the things you've been through as a college football player at Stanford and your time in the NFL. Nothing better than being a dad.
It's special. That's our second girl. I got 2 little girls at home, and pretty special time.
The penalty backing up Oregon State to their own 10-yard line. Hoping to get out of this first half with any further damage. There's nowhere to go. Ryan Nall giving it his best shot, but shoved backwards.
Chris, as this game has gone on, we've seen Oregon smartly elect to bring Tyson Coleman, Prevost, and Hurd up to the line of scrimmage and bring pressure off the edge and really set that edge. Really basically funneling these running backs back into the interior of the defensive line. It's made it very tough for guys like Ryan Nall to get much space. Finally got one about a play ago, but the holding call negated that.
Clock running here on second down, just 30 seconds to go before the half. Oregon will get the football, or at least Oregon State will be kicking off to Oregon to start the second half. And that touchdown pass, Vernon Adams, so that streak of now 80 consecutive games with at least a touchdown pass, an NCAA record continuing for the Oregon Ducks. Our halftime score, Oregon 31, Oregon State 7. Right now, let's head over to our halftime show, the State Farm halftime program with Rob Stone in Los Angeles. Yeah, it's a rivalry game in the Pacific Northwest here in Oregon, but the Ducks trying to use it to get to their 6th straight win and their 9th victory of the season. We welcome you back with Evan Moore, Chris Myers, and hope you're enjoying this game here on FS1. Well, Bralon Addison, a touchdown run, a touchdown catch, and yes, Vernon Adams over 250 yards and a touchdown pass. But the Oregon defense has caught your attention.
Well, defensive coordinator Don Pillin deserves a ton of credit. They made the adjustments after that first drive to help them stop this Oregon State offense. And as you see here, one of the things they're doing is bringing pressure off the edges and setting the edge against this Oregon State running game, which has really shut it down. Everything Charles Nelson playing center field, getting over and making a play, and also bringing pressure on the quarterback, making big hits. It's really helped this Oregon team on defense, holding Marcus McMaryion to 33 yards passing. Something that was a point of emphasis is making him win the game for you. Oregon's defense has done that successfully.
And Oregon State will be kicking off to the Ducks. Mark Helfrich said there's a lot in the rivalry, we're not worried about how many points or how we just want to win the game. We approach everything that way. But you know, beneath the surface, as long as he can keep this train rolling, he's happy.
Absolutely. In this game, there's always an emphasis on trying to win impressively, especially right now in the bowl landscape, as we mentioned earlier. There's other implications going on here in the back of these coaches' minds. They know that an impressive win will only help them in getting to the bowl they want to get to, as they have some ground to make up after a 3-3 start this year, and they've done that effectively the last 5 weeks. But it's important for them to get a big, impressive win here today, and they're well on their way to accomplishing that here as we enter the third quarter.
There was a stretch between 1998 and 2006 where the home team won every game between these teams. But the last 7 in what they call the Civil War up here has belonged to the Oregon Ducks. Checking the statistics from the first half, and we mentioned some of the impressive runs or offensive performances. Adams 17 out of 23, 257 yards. Royce Freeman steady on the ground as always.
Well, the other thing here too, as we mentioned, forcing Marcus McMaryion to win the game. This Oregon defense has held him to just 33 yards. And that's really difficult as an offense to move the ball when you don't have the balance. And it's really not like they have a ton of rushing yards either, but they just don't have the balance offensively quite yet. Got to keep the ball out of this Oregon offense's hands, as we've seen them score a ton of points here in the first half.
Freeman averaging just under 4 yards a carry today. And Oregon State swarms to get in on him. Is it me, Evan, or is the pace of the Oregon offense just not as frenetic as it has been in the last few weeks?
Well, it's been a little bit different, yeah. And here today, obviously, with this kind of lead, as quickly as they move, and obviously they won't huddle, you will see them start to slow it down just a little bit here in the second half, as there's no need to move that quickly with a 31-7 lead. It might appear quick given they're not huddling, but they're still going to take their time on the play clock as they put these drives together here in the second half.
Kyle Pecco walking off the field, injured for the moment for Oregon State. He's been their best player on defense today and much of the season, as Adams throws and completes. Carrington, here comes a flag on the back end as he gets up to the 38-yard line.
Could potentially see an offensive pass interference here, trying to obstruct the route of the defensive player and creating space for Darren Carrington to get open.
Pass interference, number 15 offense, 15-yard penalty, still second down.
That is the 5th penalty accepted against the Oregon Ducks today.
Well, and these are those plays where you try to create a natural pick, where you have your receiver run his route, creating space for the other guy to get open. You just can't make it obvious. You have to be very inconspicuous about it, not allowing the referees to throw a flag and say that you were creating a pick. It has to be very natural. We weren't able to do that on that play, pushing him back.
Second down, 22 after what turns out to be a 12-yard penalty. Adams gets away, looking downfield to throw. Now he'll run, and Vernon Adams up to the 25-yard line, gets a lot of that penalty yardage back. Levante Barnett making the tackle, the senior for Oregon State.
It's a good job by Oregon State's defense in getting to him, but look at Vernon Adams' eyes once again, always downfield. It's so dangerous and elusive if you can't bring him down.
Royce Freeman on the reception, gets past one defender and then slips past another. All the way down to the 41 of Oregon State. There's a flag down too. It came late around the midfield mark.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 12 defense. That 15-yard penalty will be forced from the end of the play for sound.
It's hard enough to stop this Oregon offense, but when you start giving them penalties after the whistle, it makes it very difficult.
Excuse me, I mean, it's Kendall Hill called for that. And he's in the wrong neighborhood to be doing that. But that's how it goes in this rivalry.
That's some good old-fashioned rivalry pushing going on. Let him play.
Griffin checks him, but Kirk Merritt gets the handoff. And the freshman cut down. There's The ball came out and Chappelle came up with it. That's Devin Chappelle. It was a tough hit on Merritt.
The safety came up and put a big hit on Kirk Merritt.
Sussman with the hit.
Interesting way he fell, but does his left knee hit the ground? I think that ball is loose.
Yeah, I thought he might have been down, but they're ruling it on the field. Fumble recovery. And Chappelle with the takeaway. First Oregon giveaway in this game. And they're going to take maybe a closer look here. And Mark Helfrich thinks that's a good idea. Yeah, there looked like he was saying there was a face mask on that play. But it has been looked at, and we're moving on. Seth Collins at quarterback at first down after the fumble recovery. Collins gets up to the 20-yard line.
It's a little bit of a zone read, a new part of this offense that we've seen this year for Oregon State, something they haven't done in the past year for quite a while. Something that was happening earlier this season quite a bit, with people playing the read option a little too closely.
That first drive, you talked about it, was impressive by Gary Anderson's team, but since then the Oregon defense tightening up, keeping them out of the end zone. Collins has the only score for Oregon State today on a run. McMaryion's pass caught. Jordan Villamin, who had an early catch, hadn't done much since.
Well, as we referenced before the game, Jordan Villamin, a big NFL type receiver, runs a 12-yard hook route, gets up the field. Some of these rhythm throws with Marcus McMaryion, I'd like to see them do more of them as the half goes on. It really helps a quarterback's confidence when you get the ball out of his hands to his talented receivers down the field. And that was just a gimme. Guy plays 15 yards off, throw a 12-yard hook. Probably should do a little more of that here in the second half if you're Oregon State.
Villamin leading the team in receiving yards, similar numbers last year. After a gain of 16, Victor Bolden toward the sideline, and Arion Springs running him out. That secondary, even though they got healthier for Oregon with Tyree Robinson and Cisse, Charles Nelson, who was on offense and then moved to defense, has an interception today, still figuring in the plans back there.
Yeah, they had some issues in the secondary early in the year, and they essentially pushed reset and went back to the basics with this group and allowed them just to play free without thinking. And it's really, really helped this group on the back end as they played their best ball the last 3 weeks.
Collins' pass incomplete for Bolden.
Bolden had a chance there in the middle of the field, run what is called a bender seam. And unfortunately, this ball just doesn't come out quick enough. He's got to let that thing go as soon as he sees him. He's a little late with it, allowing the secondary to react for Oregon, resulting in an incompletion, but he had him. There was just a small window there where he had to deliver the ball a little more quickly than he did.
Khalil Oliver, the freshman, good on the coverage. McMaryion at quarterback. 3 out of 7 today on 3rd and 9. Ryan Nall in motion. Pass is caught and slipping a tackle. It's Villamin again, and there goes Villamin. Down to the 30 of Oregon.
It's an outstanding job by Marcus McMaryion. He ends up getting pressure here, but elects to get rid of the ball quickly like he's supposed to his underneath crossing route. Jordan Villamin puts a couple nice moves on, gets up the field for the first down, but on 3rd and 9, there were longer passes drawn up for that play, but pressure came. It was important to get in the ball quickly and let him get up the field.
Villamin at 6'5", he's from Fontana, California. That's where the Auto Club Speedway is. You can always, of course, see NASCAR on Fox and FS1 throughout the season, beginning in February with the Daytona 500. A gain of 33. This is the best drive for Oregon State since their opening touchdown drive, as Ryan Nall gets inside the 15 and gets another Beavers first down.
Really like the things Ryan Nall has done so far today. He has one other start this year. We had 122 yards against Colorado, showing a little athleticism there with the hurdle.
You know, he started against Colorado in October, ground out 122 yards, and it was after that game when Gary Anderson, his coach, said, I want that war daddy wherever I go. Those are the guys I want to recruit, and those are the guys I want to surround myself with. Talking about the toughness of Nall, we saw some of that on that run. hesitates and incomplete. Coverage was good on Hunter Jarman.
Chris, they sing the praises of Ryan Nall quite often. He's their workhorse back today with Storm Woods out of the game. They don't have that guy that's been in the program for a long time to rely on. So the redshirt freshman is getting the call today.
Nall led Central Catholic, that's Joey Harrington's alma mater, to his first state title in 60 years back in 2013 when he ran for 22 touchdowns. And Ryan Nall the back on 2nd and 10. Seth Collins hands off, and then they come the other way on the handoff to Bolden, who gets out of bounds.
Once again, disguising Seth Collins, bringing him on the jet sweep, and then going with the reverse to Victor Bolden, who tries to outflank the defense, and he had an offensive lineman out there trying to lay a block for him, but sometimes offensive linemen trying to block secondary guys out in the open field is not a winning combination. They're able to get just enough yards. Make it a 3rd and short here. Try to put this ball in.
It's Nall fighting to the goal line. And what an effort to get a 1st and goal for Oregon State.
A lot of parallels here with how they're using Victor Bolden to create misdirection, creating a little bit of an opening for Nall to give that extra effort and try to get the ball over the goal line. But Oregon uses Bralon Addison very similar to the way Victor Bolden is used by this Oregon State offensive staff, and it's very impressive.
So Seth Collins is in at quarterback here, Evan, with Ryan Nall. You got to watch where he's going. He's got the football. He leaps into the air, and touchdown, Oregon State.
Well, Chris, we just talked about it before that play. That's the same play they scored on early in the game, creating a little bit of misdirection with Victor Bolden, forcing that defense to widen just enough to create a little bit of a hole. So here comes Victor Bolden, forces that defense to stop their feet, and that time Bolden actually plays it pretty well, but Collins just wills himself into that end zone, leaping up over the top of him and showing that athleticism to reach for the touchdown.
Seth Collins is 2nd touchdown today, 7th rushing touchdown of the season. Garrett Owens with the extra point. Nice halftime adjustment by the Oregon State offense. They drive downfield, and Collins into the end zone. The country, FS1 college football, presented by K Jewelers as we come to you from Oregon. And the Beavers getting on the board here in the 2nd half. A 10-play, 84-yard drive. In fact, their touchdown drives on each of their first possessions to start the game, and then their first possession of this half. That has Gary Anderson applauding. Well, he's a positive guy, regardless of the score or standings when you talk to him, Evan.
Absolutely. That's very clear. They have the right guy in a position to build this thing back to all the wins. Oregon State's had a lot of wins over the last decade. A very successful football program, and I think they have the right guy here in place to rebuild this thing back to what it was, possibly even better, as he draws upon his experience at Utah State and rebuilding that program. Trying to do the same thing here in Corvallis.
Charles Nelson from the 2-yard line, and hit hard as he gets up near the 29. Did the ball come out? Let's see. And looked like it was loose, but he's back on top of the football, so the Ducks maintain possession in the battle between Oregon and Oregon State on a beautiful fall day here in the Pacific Northwest.
Chris, thanks. Well, here's an update from number 4 Iowa and Nebraska. This following Huskers touchdown to make it a 4-point game, but the Hawkeyes respond with this. Jordan Canzeri, 67 yards. The 2nd TD of the day, and undefeated Iowa on top 28-17 in the 4th quarter.
Thanks for the update. Adams comes out throwing and incomplete. We'll see Iowa, of course, in the Big Ten championship game, which you will see on Fox. We're glad you're watching college football here on FS1 with Evan Moore, Chris Myers, and Kirk Helfrich's team coming in ranked 17th. Quite a jump. They've been on a roll in the last 5 games, averaging 43 points a game. And a lot of it because of Adams and Freeman. Royce Freeman all the way inside the 45 of Oregon State. That's now every game he's played. More than 100 yards from scrimmage this year.
A little misdirection play, a little counter, getting a good block from the tight end. And a nice little gap to get upfield.
And a quick snap and completion. Charles Nelson, who had the interception, you'd seen him on a return, originally a receiver, comes in on offense. That's how quickly they move. No time to celebrate a big gainer.
Not a whole lot that Charles Nelson doesn't do, and I love the way the coaching staff referred to him. Said his entire chest cavity is just one big heart to show itself every Saturday, too.
He's only 5'8", but plays with a big heart wherever they use him. This is Freeman going straight ahead. Just over 8 minutes to go here in the third quarter, and a 31-14 Ducks lead.
Sometimes these up-tempo spread attacks tend to struggle taking time off the clock when they get ahead, but Oregon runs the ball so well. They're a little bit of an exception to that rule here.
Adams floats one. I saw a grab. There's a penalty flag. Trying to get it to Bralon Addison, who might have had his third touchdown of this game. Zakud guilty on the grab.
I credit Bralon Addison for selling that thing just enough to and throwing those hands in the air.
Pass interference, number 14 defense. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. That's an automatic first down.
Go back to the replay here, watching Bralon Addison get there and throwing that hand in the air. Officials might not always see the actual infraction, but when they see that hand go in the air, they figure something went down. Sometimes that can be the catalyst for the flag to actually be thrown.
Royce Freeman, the hole closed in a hurry as he is now near 80 yards on the ground and already over 50 yards receiving on 3 catches. You know, he might be a guy with the numbers. You know, you talked about your Heisman candidates and Vernon Adams. I mean, again, leading this Oregon team and rushing. Durable, reliable, gets the football. Nowhere to go this time. She's knocked back to the 6-yard line. He came in needing only 267 yards in this game and the final game here to beat the school record, rushing record of 1,805 yards by LaMichael James, set back in 2011. Look at his numbers today.
Well, as is usually the case, when you start to lose football games, any Heisman hopefuls you have on your team start to lose some attention. And when they were 3-3, Royce Freeman was still playing exceptional football, and people just stopped talking about him. But he's continued to do that all year long, and he's worthy of any praise that comes his way from a national standpoint.
Adams keeps. It'll be 4th down.
Was clearly looking to throw on this play. Eyes are downfield. Actually, I take that back. I think that was a design quarterback draw. As his eyes went up, quickly came back down.
Caught in the mix, and they're going to go for it on 4th and goal. What do you expect here, Evan?
I think they're going to get Vernon Adams on the move here. Do something with Bralon Addison.
Griffin is the back. Vernon Adams has plenty of time. Can he find anybody? He can run it in if he wants, but he'll throw out of bounds and gets knocked down. Coverage was very good. Ricky Ortiz got in to hit him. Ortiz was a guy who remembers the success of Vernon Adams when he beat Oregon State at Eastern Washington. And another one from Oregon State.
Oh, this is such a big stop on the heels of a touchdown drive by the Oregon State Beavers. We'll go ahead and roll the tape. As soon as this ball is snapped, it's a typical drop back play for Vernon Adams, but right about now it becomes a scramble drill, and all those receivers now are just improvising, trying to get open, and we know how dangerous Vernon Adams can be in those situations, but credit the Oregon State secondary for sticking with their guys. The Velcro coverage and not allowing guys to get away from them. Turnover on downs, which is a big turning point at this point in the game with their last touchdown.
Adams has had a hot hand and the upper hand, but on that series, the defense kept him out of the end zone, taking over at the 2. The throw way off target. McMaryion was trying to go to Victor Bolden.
Chris, the objective here when you're backed up like this in your own territory is to get 2 first downs. It's called backed up football. It's a situational drill that you always drill throughout the offseason. And they're looking to get at least 1, hopefully 2 first downs. And that's a success to get that field position back. Because if they find themselves having to punt in a situation like this, it make it very tough on their defense to give the Oregon offense the ball in their own territory.
Nall with a big hole, gets him out of the hole. And it takes 3 Ducks to bring him down across the 15-yard line at a first down.
Such a big sigh of relief for Dave Baldwin, this offensive coordinator. Getting Ryan Nall on the move, getting the tight end across and getting a nice cut block. That first down is so critical in this field position battle. If you don't get this first down, it puts your defense in a really, really tough spot. That's critical yardage, bringing that thing outside the 15-yard line for the Oregon State offense.
Averaging 5 yards a carry against the improving Oregon Ducks defense. Nall as a receiver and gets up near the 28-yard line. Arion Springs brings him down. When they called him and he gets the first down, the Swiss Army knife, he lines up at tight end, H-back. He's been primarily a running back today.
Well, they're taking advantage of the boundary receiver, running that slant route, creating a void out on the outside, and running a little swing route to Ryan Nall for more good yardage for the Oregon State offense.
The redshirt freshman who has become a favorite of his head coach, who called him tough and physical. There's McMaryion, who got the start, the 3rd different freshman starting quarterback for Gary Anderson's team this season.
Credit him for seeing Arion Springs manned up to the boundary with the receiver. And that receiver essentially vacated that area, creating a void for the running back to run over to. Delivers a swing route nicely for a nice gain.
On 1st and 10 from the 28. Nall, and there goes Ryan Nall, dragging a tackler all the way down to the 45-yard line. It was Charles Nelson who wouldn't let him go, or Nall might still be running.
It's never good when a running back gets to the secondary, but we just have a little outside zone here. And a great job blocking it up, forcing Charles Nelson to make the tackle, which he was hanging on for dear life on that one.
Helmets flying. Now, Nelson's a guy who had, what, a dozen tackles in one game at that safety spot earlier this year?
Correct, against Washington State. Never good when your safety has that many tackles, because he's more of a pass coverage safety. He's not the type that's going to come down in the box. You don't want running backs getting out to Charles Nelson. That means they've gotten too many yards.
A 27-yard run, 95 yards rushing for the freshman Ryan Nall, wearing number 34. This time McMaryion to throw for Bolden. Coverage good. McMaryion knocked out, took a tough hit, but no flags.
Got a flag down the field.
Oh, there is one, not in the backfield, but in the secondary.
Pass interference, number 14 on the defense. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. That's an automatic first down.
Freshman Ugo Amadi called for that infraction.
What Dave Baldwin decides to do here is run a double move with Victor Bolden. A stop and go route at about 10 yards. Give him a little burst and then push that thing up. He takes advantage of the young quarter in Ugo Amadi. Forces him to grab out of panic because it looked like he had an opening down the field for the pass interference call. It's a good call by Dave Baldwin.
Baldwin, Cal State Northridge guy, offensive coordinator for Oregon State, who was refreshingly candid but frustrated when we spoke to him about the passing game of this team and quarterbacks getting the ball to the receivers. It's like a delay.
First charge timeout, Oregon State, prior to the expiration of the play clock.
Clarification on wisely using the timeout to avoid a 5-yard penalty. Of providing educational scholarships to families of military members who have been killed or disabled while serving our country. For more information, we encourage you to visit foxsportssupports.com. Just over 4 minutes to go here in the third quarter. 2 long drives for Oregon State have produced touchdowns, and they're on their way again behind Ryan Nall on 1st and 10 from the 30. McMaryion on the move. If he can turn the corner, he's got a little bit of room. He goes out of bounds around the 27-yard line, and there's a flag down.
Question is he got outside the pocket? One of his offensive linemen grabbed one of the defensive linemen of Oregon. Possibly sending one of the offensive linemen downfield is a possibility as well.
After the play, dead ball personal foul, number 50 of the offense, 15-yard penalty, 2nd down.
That's senior center Josh Mitchell.
Correction, 56 offense.
Okay, don't want to give the wrong guilty party. Seumalo, that's Isaac Seumalo, who has played right guard and left tackle. So it pushes the Beavers all the way back to the 42. Breaking penalty. McMaryion to throw, and a nice catch inside the 20. Noah Togiai, the tight end, gets a 1st down.
Another great job of Marcus McMaryion being patient. He was trying to work the front side with a Victor Bolden combination with 3 guys over to the right. Patient enough to come back to Togiai, running the shallow cross from the slot route. The big guy, the big explosive guy, delivering that football, allowed him to get up the field. What a good job by Marcus McMaryion.
A gain of 26 yards, overcoming that penalty. McMaryion, pressure coming, has to get rid of it in a hurry. And Rodney Hardrick putting on the heat. The linebacker you talked about, kind of the glue of the defense with the coach's mentality as a guy on the field who plays that way.
He's really been a big help through any defensive struggles they've had this year. He's a good leader for that defense, and they even talked about him leading walkthroughs for this defense and bringing these young guys along. He's a great presence, helping this defense get better and improving over the course of the season.
Nall, the carry, takes players with him down to the 10. 6'2", and he's running like he's bigger than that. And carrying that 255 frame. Will bring up 3rd down and 4. Oregon State has, on 3rd down, converted 3 times out of 7. There's Seth Collins back in, who has the 2 touchdowns for the Beavers.
One of the things that's worked really well when Collins is in the game is moving Victor Bolden around pre-snap. They've done it with McMaryion in the game as well, but it's been even more effective when Collins is in the game because of his athleticism.
Collins to run, cuts back for the end zone. Touchdown, Oregon State. Ball came out at the end, but ruled a touchdown right away. And of course, they'll review it to be sure. But what an alert move. Slicing through the Oregon defense to get to the end zone.
And I love the way offensive coordinator Dave Baldwin elects to stretch the field out in a stretch formation. And all he's trying to do is run that off tackle, but sees a nice little cutback lane and cuts it up the middle and shows his athleticism. The idea is to stretch that play, but he sees a cutback. He's got great vision, the instincts of a running back, and puts that thing in the end zone.
And the extra point is good. 7 career starts for the true freshman. Missed the last 4 games, returning this week in style. Seth Collins with his 3rd touchdown today. Well, they didn't start at quarterback, but Seth Collins putting on a show, Evan. That drive, 98 yards, covering 9 plays, and he's in the end zone for the 3rd time today.
Yeah, we're seeing his ability to play several different positions. Spent most of the week playing wide receiver. They just see him as their best athlete, and they have to find a way to get him on the field as long as he's healthy. If it's not going to be quarterback, it's going to be somewhere else. He's been a huge asset for him today.
Charles Nelson on the return, slips a tackle. Nelson still going. Brought down from behind. A good saving tackle by Garrett Owens, the kicker. A return of 41 yards.
Well, Charles Nelson's such a dynamic player in the kick return game. Had a big return versus Stanford Cardinal just 2 weeks ago. It was a big game-changing play in that game, but you see his ability once he's in space to turn on the accelerator, and he does that really effectively here. Such a special player for this Oregon team. Fills so many different roles for them. This one giving him great field position to start this drive.
The sophomore from Seabreeze High School in Daytona Beach, Florida, and has an interception today. He's also a member of the Oregon track team, a sprinter and long jumper. Showed you some of that ability right there. From the 45 of Oregon, Vernon Adams throws on the run and completes. Evan Bayless is tight end, has a first down, spotted inside the 45 of Oregon State, and down at the 44, a gain of a dozen. Adams over 300 yards passing today, and Freeman gets down to the 36 of Oregon State.
One thing that's happened today more than once that I've noticed is when Oregon State is electing to bring pressure, they fail to time it up right at times, and they've tipped their hand before the snap. When you let Vernon Adams know what your plan is once that ball is snapped, it makes it a lot easier for him to dissect that coverage.
Going for it all, the end zone, and knocked away. Jalen Brown had to play defense, or that might have been intercepted.
Both receivers, or excuse me, the DB and the receiver going up to high point that ball. It's a good job by DeCoud in getting there. He's been a solid player for them all year long. Missed some time due to injury. He was injured versus Colorado, but a guy they trust on the back end in the secondary.
Preston DeCoud from Covington, Louisiana. Griffin, who has a touchdown run today, goes out of bounds and gets the first down. Just over a minute to go in the third. A 10-point game. There were many who thought the way the Ducks had been flying high, that it would be more lopsided even at this point. Adams in the pocket underneath to Griffin, and he gets knocked down around the 22-yard line. Over 500 yards of offense for the Oregon Ducks with still a quarter to go. They've been averaging, again, 43 points a game during this 5-game win streak. It's Addison who slips out of the tackle, but then 3 more Oregon State defenders are there, including DeCoud and Jonathan Willis.
It's an outstanding job by DeCoud recognizing what they're trying to do on the bubble screen. And as that ball gets thrown out there, he blows up the guy trying to block him. Ultimately assists on the tackle, missed the lead tackle, but is able to keep him back where he was. It's a great job sniffing that play out and being physical by the corner.
Gary Anderson talking to some of his defensive players. Griffin remains the back after a 12-yard loss. A one-handed grab over there by Taj Griffin. He's near a first down. The freshman who's a backup to Royce Freeman and Kenai Benoit.
It's the design screen route. He becomes a first option in that as the receivers were blocking for him. The ball's designed to go out to Taj Griffin immediately after the ball snapped and get him out in space. He effectively gets up the field on that one. But once again, great job blocking by the Oregon receivers. Something they've been accustomed to doing in both the passing and the run game.
And Evan, they're going to go on 4th and a yard. Remember they went last time on 4th and goal from the 2 and did not score. Handoff Freeman, and he'll score! A 19-yard touchdown run for Royce Freeman, his second of the day.
Well, Chris, you said it. They got in position very quickly to go for it on 4th and 1. And I think Oregon State might have caught itself out of position a little bit. Probably could have used a timeout to make sure they were in the right front. Tyler Johnstone gets away with a little bit there with his right hand, creating just enough separation for enough to make a hole. Big play on 4th and 1.
A lot going on in the trenches. Aiden Schneider with another successful extra point. Freeman with the run.
Well, as we see here, they elected to give it their feature back, and we have a hole right here that was created maybe by a little bit of a hold by Tyler Johnstone. He was able to get away with it there, create some space for his running back. Once again, when Royce Freeman gets that head of steam going forward, it's difficult to stop him. And he's pretty good as it is, but when you don't get a hand on him, a little too easy for him.
Over 100 yards rushing for Freeman today, averaging over 5.5 a carry. That was a 55-yard drive that took just over 2 minutes, and again going for it on 4th and short. The Ducks are going to wear out with all these touchdowns today.
As many points as they score, this guy's going to be a bodybuilder at some point.
He's just happy he survived Thanksgiving. 8th consecutive game with 100 rushing yards for Freeman. And for a team that throws the ball around a lot, once again, the 10th consecutive season of leading the Pac-12 in rushing, on their way to doing that.
Well, it's exciting to watch these running backs do their thing. Both Freeman, Griffin, James, Benoit, all of them. They don't even have Thomas Tyner on the field, a guy that's still out, been out for the entire season.
Victor Bolden with a spin and thrown down at the 36. A nifty return. The Las Vegas Invitational concludes tonight. Doubleheader, including West Virginia taking on San Diego State in the championship game. The Las Vegas Invitational beginning after our game here on FS1. FS1 College Football is presented by K Jewelers. We're ready to wrap up the 3rd quarter. The Ducks, their 38th point. Oregon State has scored 2 touchdowns here in the 2nd half. Brian Nall on the reception. Well, he is not easy to bring down. He has battled today. And that is the end of 3 FS1 College Football presented by K Jewelers. Of ingredients that go into a rivalry. This one goes back to 1894. You see Corvallis and Eugene, they're not all that far apart when they were founded. This is the 119th meeting. The students, the players, the fans, the alumni proud of the school and the area they represent. And of course, Animal House filmed in this area. They play this on the stadium scoreboard at Autzen. Could have swore I saw Dan Fouts in a toga dancing somewhere. Animal House, one of the most quoted films ever. Sometimes you got to just say, what the heck? On 2nd and 3 for Oregon State. Nall gets the first down and a lot more inside the 45. I wouldn't make that up, Evan. Of course, he was a Duck back in the early 70s. Terrific announcer, outstanding quarterback for the Chargers. Normally, he would be smiling in a toga, but that might have. There you go. We just showed you the mascot, Benny the Beaver, and the Duck enjoying this matchup. Meanwhile, Nall having a terrific game with that 13-yard run. 115 so far today on the ground. McMaryion airing it out. And here comes a flag. He was trying to get to Jordan Villamin. Tyree Robinson was running with him.
This is going to be a tough one. Tyree's not playing the football. His eyes have to go back.
Pass interference. Number 3, defense. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. That's an automatic first down.
Tyree Robinson, the former safety, they like to have him to the boundary to play against the bigger receivers, and he just doesn't get his head around. And it becomes a little too obvious as he tries to widen him, which is great technique, but he's got to get that head around and look for the football. Otherwise, he leaves the official thinking that he's not playing the football, and that time he's got to throw the flag.
He came off the bench against USC after having started 4 games at corner and 6 games at the safety spot. Here's Nall, and nowhere to go. And the Ducks swarm him. DeForest Buckner, part of the crowd.
I really like what they're doing here with Ryan Nall in the second half, but this time Oregon answers the call. DeForest Buckner coming off his block, making a big play and essentially running into the wall of the Oregon defensive line, trying to put the clamps on Ryan Nall. He's had a good second half, and a guy we knew was going to be the featured back today, as indicated by the coaches all week long. And he's a big back that they can rely on. But that time, it's a good job by the Oregon defense.
It'll be 2nd and 15. Chris Brown in at running back now. Nall catching his breath. Incomplete. Through the hands of Seth Collins. Looked like he had a shot at it with Charles Nelson running with him.
Well, Chris, that was a matchup play.
There's a flag down, too. Evan came in a little bit late. Let's see here. McMaryion showing his arm strength on that play. 7 penalties accepted on Oregon today, 5 on Oregon State.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting, number 26 defense. 15-yard penalty. That's an automatic first down. That's the first unsportsmanlike conduct foul for number 26.
Khalil Oliver, the freshman, called for that penalty, Evan, and that's Nelson there running with him on the coverage.
It was a matchup play trying to isolate Seth Collins on Charles Nelson. Throwing a go route on him, a nice ball. I thought Charles Nelson got there a little early.
Here's Ryan Nall. Knocked down at the 20.
Let's go back to the unsportsmanlike penalty. At the end of the play, Khalil Oliver comes over, gets in the face of Seth Collins. That is absolutely taunting, and it's something Mark Helfrich usually does not tolerate. And that's a big penalty.
You played the game. I mean, it's a rivalry. There's emotion. But the reason coaches don't want that and officials, it just leads to further activity that is not healthy and not about the game of football and sportsmanship. So some people say, oh, come on. Well, that's the reason the call. Now 2nd and 11. Marcus McMaryion right on target. Jordan Villamin down inside the 6-yard line, where it'll be 1st and goal for Oregon State.
Well, I love the call. Oregon electing to play a version of cover 3. And Jordan Villamin just running the 3-step slant route, getting up the field. The linebacker is widened by the flat route out of the backfield, creating a nice little void for McMaryion to deliver the football to his big receiver on the slant. It's a very effective route against that kind of coverage. Results in a 1st down for the Oregon State offense.
McMaryion is in for the touchdown. Seth Collins has 3 today, and the freshman quarterback keeps for his 1st today.
Once again, using the motion of Victor Bolden pre-snap to create a little bit of misdirection, and it's a design keep for the quarterback. It was well blocked on the front side. Victor Bolden creating that misdirection, well blocked on that front side. He's got a barrage of guys out in front of him and just walks into the end zone. Well executed by the Beaver offense.
Garrett Owens, the extra point. McMaryion, after the pass completion to set up the run, keeps it himself for the Beavers touchdown. It's right now. Last time Oregon State won in the Civil War rivalry, 2007. Double overtime. Freshman receiver James Rogers put the Beavers ahead. The Beaver defense then helped the Ducks on 4th down to preserve the win in Eugene. Double OT, and Oregon State won it 38-31. The scoring drive is McMaryion, the freshman quarterback, with his 1st career rushing touchdown. He had 1 touchdown pass coming in. 8 out of 16, 120 yards through the air. And it's only a 10-point game with an onside kick, but it didn't go far enough. And the Ducks will take over. A little frustration because they might have been able, Evan, to catch them off guard a little there.
Yeah, the Beavers electing to ride the momentum, go with a very high-risk, high-reward play, and that ball only gets 9 yards, so their kicker's unable to jump on it. Now they give the Oregon offense the ball on the Oregon State 44-yard line.
Vernon Adams with a touchdown pass. Royce Freeman, a couple of touchdowns, and Bralon Addison.
Will the game clock operator please reset the game clock to 12:02? The ball was recovered when the player was down.
Did not go the required 10, and frustrated is Gary Anderson because he thought he had it. Had it gone another yard, his players were ready to pounce on it. Adams with time, and now he goes down. It's Kyle Pecco with a sack.
Well, Kyle Pecco, a difference maker on this defensive front for the Oregon State Beavers. And he just pushes his way through, and Vernon Adams has to hold on to that ball a little longer than he would have liked. But Kyle Pecco is putting on full display why he's a guy that coaches have enjoyed coaching so much since they got here. He's a reliable guy and battles every snap. He's a guy you have to account for, and that time makes a big play for this defense.
Can Oregon State, after the failed onside kick, keep this offense from gaining? Adams on the move and goes out around midfield. It'll be third down. There's a flag down. And not necessary, picked up, no penalty.
Pecco sack likely providing Gary Anderson a big sigh of relief after not getting that onside kick. Putting Oregon in a 3rd and 16 situation. Big stop by the defense if they can hold him here.
Griffin at tailback. Fakes to him. Adams is on the move. Here comes a flag. And he's going to throw. And catch made. Charles Nelson for a first down, pending the flag.
Holding, number 62 offense. 10-yard penalty, third down.
That call on Matt Pearson, so it'll negate the first down. One of the things that happens is your quarterback starts to move around. You can tend to allow guys to get their hands outside the framework of their blocking technique, and in this case, Pearson just holds on for dear life, ends up getting the penalty as this quarterback tries to elude the rush and get out of the pocket. Need to get all the way inside the 35-yard line for a first down. Adams throws wide open, but bounces the ball to Nelson. And he knew he had him open. He's frustrated, missed that opportunity, but the penalties hurt him here. And the Oregon State defense forces a fourth down and long, so here comes the punting unit for the Ducks. Well, this is a huge win for this Oregon State defense, a game-changing type stop. With a 10-point lead, the Oregon offense is unable to do anything after recovering that what was an attempt at an onside kick, but such a big stop for this Oregon State defense, as they're going to get the ball back down 10 points. And Blake Mamone is coming in, looks like to punt. Make that Matt Logan. And Victor Bolden is loose. Victor Bolden with a punt return touchdown. 78 yards. Well, you never know how this stuff's going to come back to get you. Their punter, Ian Wheeler, has been out sick, not available today. And this punt just does not get enough hang time. It ends up in Victor Bolden's hands way too soon. And they're unable to have their protection or their coverage team down there to make a tackle. And he makes them pay with that speed. A leader for this offense, not so much verbally, but more by example, makes a huge play to make this a one-score game. Well, they hadn't had to punt today as the extra point goes through. Matt Logan had never punted in a game before. And between the punt and the speed of Bolden,
The underdog Oregon State Beavers have battled back. And in the Civil War, they're only down 3. Into duty because Ian Wheeler, the regular punter for the Ducks, was ill. They hadn't punted all day, and then Bolden took advantage for his first career punt return for a touchdown.
Well, as we mentioned, we just don't get enough hang time on this punt. In textbook fashion, you get white shirts all over green shirts. And this is how it's done, allowing Victor Bolden space to get up the field, up the gut of the punt coverage team. And he's off to the races for a big score for this Oregon State football team.
Let's check in with Jenny Taft back in the studio for a game break.
Thanks, Chris. Well, over on Fox, it was a rough day for number 20 Washington State in the Apple Cup. First, Peyton Bender finds Gabe Marks, who would fumble, go down injured, and leave the game. But as for Washington, Darren Gardenhire returns it for the touchdown, 26 yards. The Huskies have now won 6 of the last 7 games in this series.
All right, Jenny, in the Apple Cup here, it's the Civil War. That shakes things up. Obviously, an injury at quarterback for Washington State, the Cougars, in the Pac-12. Oregon can talk about that from the earlier portion of the season, but right now their hands full as Royce Freeman gets up towards the 45-yard line with a first down run. Victor Bolden, that punt return. He also, of course, has 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns. But what a series of events. McMaryion scores the touchdown. The onside kick doesn't go long enough. The defense does its job after a penalty, and then the punt return. That's why it's a 3-point game. Adams pass, caught, but right away. Carrington is tackled by DeCoud. And this would be, I know Oregon has the football and the lead, Evan Moore, but this would be a colossal upset in this rivalry if Oregon State could somehow pull this off.
Oh, we knew going into this is a rivalry game. A lot of people thought they had this figured out, how this thing was going to turn out, but people inside the state of Oregon really realize what's at stake here. You trust this Oregon State Beaver team is going to show up. Here, a 3-point game with 9 minutes left.
Charles Nelson with a first down run. We mentioned coming in, the Ducks have won the last 7 in this series. You know, here at Autzen Stadium, we mentioned Animal House. This was one of the filming locations for the movie Animal House, and it'll turn into that. There is a crazy upset. Right now, the Ducks doing what they do, moving with the football, trying to protect their string in this rivalry. 8:40 to go. Facing 2nd and 4. Pass complete to Carrington, who gets the first down and goes out of bounds. Vernon Adams over 320 yards passing. Freeman over 120 yards rushing today.
Chris, you said it. Just an amazing turn of events. I think after Oregon recovers that onside kick, it looked like this Oregon State team was in trouble. Credit them for putting us in this situation here. Oregon's responding well and moving this football right now.
Griffin. And Taj Griffin gets inside the 5.
As we've seen several times today, getting Taj Griffin on the jet sweep. And a jet sweep is always going to have to rely on these receivers down the field blocking, which you see from Darren Carrington right there, creating just enough space for him to get outside. You have speed like Taj Griffin. All you got to do is give him one extra step, and he's going to get those yards for you. It's a big day for Taj, 10.3-yard average on the ground. Very impressive.
An 18-yard run, and he remains in. Adams, end zone, catch made, touchdown, Bralon Addison. His 3rd of the day for the Ducks.
Well, they attempt to sell the run action before the play, and the backside receiver, Bralon Addison, sells the crossfield route, puts his foot in the ground, and comes back to the corner. And after Vernon Adams keeps that ball off the play action, finds his receiver wide open. This play action here is important to the flow of the play. Then he comes right back and finds his receiver in the corner of the end zone. It's a well-designed play. The timing of it is perfect. This receiver's wide open in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown.
Schneider on for the extra point, and it's back to a 10-point Oregon lead. So the punt return, and this is how the Ducks respond. Adams has set it by Kay Jewelers.
Well, Chris, as referenced earlier, this last play for the touchdown is a well-designed play. It relies on the play action that creates the facade. They're going this way. This receiver is going to come down for a cutoff block and come right back to the corner of the end zone. Fake well carried out by Vernon Adams, and he just comes back and finds Bralon Addison right over the corner of the end zone. Very, very well-designed play by Scott Frost, the offensive coordinator.
It'll be a touchback, second touchdown pass of the game for Vernon Adams. He now has 24 for the season. And if you're entertained by this, wait till tomorrow when Notre Dame takes on Stanford. Who's going to get into that college football playoff? They got a whole lot at stake. Both ranked in the top 10 at 7 Eastern on your local Fox affiliate. With Evan Moore, Chris Myers, Fran Morrison, our producers, Scott Katz directing. Hope you're enjoying a little college football on FS1. Marcus McMaryion, complete right at the first down marker to Victor Bolden, who had the punt return moments ago of 78 yards. So much more at stake when you talk about the bigger picture, a bowl game for Oregon, ranked 17th. Oregon State trying to win with Gary Anderson, first-year head coach, their first Pac-12 game of the season. And this the last game of their season. Ryan Nall with a big hole. Can he go all the way? Ryan Nall! Outstanding with a touchdown. 66 yards. The freshman from the neighborhood.
Well, we've seen the big bruising back quite a bit today, and he's able to put his speed on full display. As you see here, just a void created in the middle by the tight end coming across, and a missed tackle there by 56. But Ryan Nall showing his speed down the field. Been a difference maker today for the Oregon State offense.
It's back to a three-point game. 19 carries for Nall, 174 yards, and this a 66-yard touchdown dash. No team has ever scored 42 points and lost a Civil War game. This is the 119th meeting between these two.
Well, let's go back to the touchdown. They elect to bring the safety down towards the line of scrimmage, creating a void in the middle of the field. And this linebacker here, Rodney Hardrick, gets out of position just enough to leave an even bigger void for Ryan Nall to explode through the middle. And there is nobody to get their hands on him, and he shows his speed for a big run and a big play to get Oregon State back in this football game.
A short kick, Charles Nelson. And he goes all the way up to the 48-yard line. Ducks will take over, protecting the three-point advantage. Let's take a look at our Ford game summary. Amazingly, it's worth repeating, their third different freshman quarterback this season for Oregon State. Just a two-win team hanging with Oregon that's going for a sixth straight victory.
Well, Oregon State came into this football game knowing they wanted to run it. And you see there, they have 236 rushing yards today. We know this Oregon defense over the course of the season has had some holes, and some teams have exploited those holes successfully. But for Oregon State to run for 236 yards and kind of control the tempo from that standpoint is a huge win for this offense.
Seth Collins with 3 touchdown runs for Oregon State. Royce Freeman has 2 and has the football. to the 46 of Oregon State. Jonathan Willis coming up to make the tackle. The last game in Eugene in 2013, epic. The lead changed 6 times after halftime. Oregon won 36-35 when McMaryion had to throw a winning touchdown with 29 seconds left. As Freeman gets loose and gets inside the 30 for a first down.
Well, as we're starting to see when this game goes on, it's the effect that Royce Freeman has on the opposition. They got to start wrapping up. As this game goes on, the defense gets tired, and the arm tackles just aren't going to get it done for this Oregon State defense. You've got to wrap a guy like that up.
Carrington with the catch. And similar from Oregon State playing that tough game in 2013, how they came off a tough loss coming into this game this time.
Yeah, I mean, last week had a really rough one against the University of Washington, but back in 2013 it was the same deal. They had a big loss to University of Washington, came back, lost the Civil War game by 1 point. A lot of parallels between that day and today here at Autzen Stadium.
And not done yet. 6 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. Ripping back in. He has a big hole. Spins and goes down to about the 22-yard line.
Chris, as we referenced earlier, this is the top rushing attack in the Pac-12, and one of the reasons they thrive is because they wear teams down. And as this game goes on, it's important for Oregon State to tackle. You've got to wrap these guys up, especially Royce Freeman. As difficult as it is, you can't give him extra attempts at getting yards.
Griffin getting the first down inside the 20-yard line and the clock running. Oregon State has just 2 timeouts remaining. The Ducks have all 3. 636 yards of total offense. And these are the rushing yards alone for a team that runs a spread offense and throws the ball all over the place. Vernon Adams, number 3. Hands off. Griffin knocked down for a loss. Kendall Hill from his spot, the defensive secondary.
Kendall Hill's a great example of some of the position changes they've implemented here for this Oregon State team. Gary Anderson came in, identified talent in different areas, and said, hold on here, let's move guys around and make sure we're taking advantage of their athletic ability and their skill set. Kendall Hill there, you saw a former wide receiver and safety, now playing corner, makes a great play on that tackle in the backfield.
Adams, all kinds of time, open end zone, touchdown Ducks! It's Addison again. Bralon Addison with his 4th touchdown of the day.
Well, once again, Chris, this offensive line is playing as well as any unit in the country, and they give Vernon Adams just enough time to keep those eyes down the field. And we've drawn parallels, for those of you out there watching, we've drawn parallels to Russell Wilson quite often off camera relating to Vernon Adams. His ability to move around but see downfield just like Russell Wilson does at the next level. And he does it so effectively and makes it such an asset for this offense.
Vernon Adams wears that number 3, just like Russell Wilson wears 3 for the defending NFC champion Seattle Seahawks. Coming off a 6-touchdown pass performance, Vernon Adams has 3 today. Point, Oregon lead. Good protection for Vernon Adams in that drive to respond for Gary Helfrich after the Oregon State team narrowed it down to 3 once again. First year in Oregon for Vernon Adams, but already a win over Oregon State. Remember, he led Eastern Washington to a win over the Beavers in Corvallis in 2013. Had 4 touchdown passes in that game. Victor Bolden, they're not going to give him a chance, so that's a touchback.
Well, let's go back to that touchdown. As we said before, this line deserves a lot of credit. Now, Oregon State only elects to rush 3. But Vernon Adams moving around, has plenty of time to move around. But key thing here from this angle, look at those eyes. Look at him continue to look downfield and find open receivers. From up here, we could see Bralon Addison coming open. It was only a matter of time. So Vernon Adams was able to find him. And with his arm strength and his accuracy, he puts that football right on the numbers for 6 more for the Oregon offense.
But the Beavers have shown that they can score quickly, whether it's Ryan Nall, or here he is in the Wildcat, or McMaryion, or Collins. From the 25, McMaryion, there's a little trickery, and there's Nall with the catch. Seth Collins on the throw, and he has a first down up near midfield. kind of like what we saw in that opening drive where they got everybody involved.
That's the other dangerous element. When you bring the double pass out, you bring another quarterback on the field, you know he has the ability to throw. The receiver does a good job clearing out that space for Ryan Nall, then fills that void, and Seth Collins delivers the ball nicely. Just another weapon of his that's on display.
A pickup of 24. McMaryion open. He's got another first down. It's Bolden fighting hard to get to the 37.5-yard line of Oregon.
Impressive element of McMaryon's game today is rarely has he forced throws. He's put his team in a good position. He's taking what the defense gives him. Other than maybe one or two throws in the first half, he really hasn't forced throws, which is something you don't see young quarterbacks pull off very often, but he's done a nice job of that and allowed them to move this thing down the field as part of this overall push.
Time, but he held it too long. It's Buckner with the sack.
Well, unfortunately on that play, they bring Victor Bolden in a short motion, which is a big indicator that they're going to run some kind of crossing route with him. And they do that, and I thought Marcus had plenty of time, but as you'll see here from this high end zone look, he has time to find, watch, just in the middle of your screen, Victor Bolden come open there, and if he puts that thing on him as soon as that window opens, that's a big gain. He was unable to identify him. With that zone coverage, there becomes a nice little window there to deliver the ball. Missed opportunity there for the Oregon State offense.
Oh, the growing pains of a freshman in a rivalry game. It'll be third down. I want to go back to DeForest Buckner, one of the players you identified at the start of the game, Evan, the senior who leads this Oregon team in sacks. He has been a force all afternoon.
And he's a special player here on senior night, trying to make his presence felt. But he and a couple other guys up front are the reason they've been able to get better as a defense over the course of the season. The push they create has allowed them to get a little more creative on the back end and become a better secondary. But give these guys credit up front, and it starts with DeForest Buckner.
Nall underneath, but short of the first down, goes out of bounds. Reggie Daniels not allowing him to get inside the 30 where they needed to get. So on fourth down, let's see how they play it.
Well, it's a smart play by Marcus McMaryion, as they knew this was four-down territory, and the Oregon defense elected to push this thing way back and play deep coverage. Take what they give you, start to chip away at it, and now you find yourself in a 4th and 7, which is somewhat manageable.
You could opt for a field goal and then try the onside kick, but they're going for the first down. Marcus McMaryion in the hands and out of the hands of Victor Bolden.
Yeah, it's a good play call, well-designed play. He had Victor Bolden over the middle of the field, and this thing just comes out a little bit low. Certainly a catchable ball by Victor Bolden. If he brings that in, that's a first down. That's a tough drop.
And he knew, excuse me, Evan, and so did McMaryion, the frustration. What an effort from Bolden and McMaryion today with just over 2 minutes to play.
Well, over the course of the week, Dave Baldwin referenced some of the layups, so to speak, that they've missed over the course of the season. And although it was a little bit low, that ball was in the chest of Victor Bolden. Probably should have been caught. That would probably classify as one of the layups that they've missed over the course of the season.
And now the Ducks going for the slam dunk and try and put an end to the pesky Oregon State Beavers, who have hung tough.
Oregon State. It's a 30-second timeout.
Well, you said, Evan, in a rivalry game, anything can happen. As we figure that the Ducks will hold on here, maybe not as dominant or one-sided a game as many people thought, considering how hot this team was and the offense. But let's talk about where this Duck team, if they hang on to win their 6th straight, where they go from here.
Well, it wasn't quite the impressive win that they had hoped for in this game in order to impress some of the bowl committees. But there's no question they're going to end up in an impressive bowl. A lot of people have speculated about possibly the Alamo Bowl. But there's a chance they could end up in an at-large bid for a New Year's Six Bowl. It's just important that they hold on here and execute this 4-minute offense.
Here comes a flag.
Delay game on the defense, using defensive signals to disconcert the offensive signals. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
Yeah, whatever you do, don't disconcert. But what an entertaining game this has been. And when you're getting Oregon, we said at the top, between Vernon Adams, like a brush fire, all the offensive places you put one out, here comes another one popping up. Some bowl committee is going to get a very good team, looking at the bigger picture of how hot this team is, how exciting they are to watch.
Well, they leave you feeling like what if as well. Had they been healthy the whole year, you start to wonder what they would have been capable of doing if they had their quarterback the entire year. But they have so many weapons. If you elect to try to stop one guy, they're only going to get you somewhere else, as we saw most of the day today.
A team that played, when you look at Oregon for the college football championship last year, I know they had high expectations when this season started, but at least they're finishing strong considering the 3-3 start.
Well, it's a fascinating development. You think, Marcus Mariota departs. They head into this year wondering who their quarterback's going to be. Everyone knew Vernon Adams was coming in, but no one really knew for sure if he was going to get that starting job. He still had to compete with Jeff Lockley and Taylor Alley. Not only does he get the job, but when he's healthy, he has been everything they've hoped he would be. That's worked out pretty well for him.
And it was good of you to point out when we talked about the Heisman watch, players like him, Royce Freeman and Vernon Adams, certainly worth mentioning. I think it's also worth pointing out here that Gary Anderson, and this game shows you today, is representative of the kind of team he's going to bring out on the field once he gets the kinds of players. And he had to recruit, as you said. He brought in a lot of different players. In fact, they dressed 58 players today. They had injuries, but 54 were recruited really to do other jobs, and he's had to move them around.
Yeah, and certainly no disrespect to the guys that were already on this roster, but Gary Anderson runs a different system than what they ran here for the last few years, and so it's about finding, and sometimes it's position changes. It's putting the guys in the right place to be successful. But one of the things that really impressed me about Gary Anderson, as we had a chance to talk with him this week, is the idea of finger pointing got brought up, and that tends to happen when teams lose a lot of football games, and he made it very clear that's the easy way out as a coach. That will not happen here, not under my watch. And I personally believe they have the right guy in charge here. He's shown he has the ability to rebuild programs. He did this at Utah State. Took them from a 4-win team to an 11-win team in just 4 years. Experienced some success at the University of Wisconsin. Now he finds himself back in Corvallis. And I expect this team over the next couple years, and over the course of this week, Storm Bars Woods alluded to it as well. This is going to be a team that just continues to get better. A lot of good young players, and they got the right guy in charge. I firmly believe that.
On a first down, Freeman, who already has over 215 total yards today on the carry. You mentioned Storm Bars Woods, a really unfortunate, the 4-year starter at running back who could not play as a senior in this his final game. In the top 5 all-time for Oregon State in rushing.
Yeah, a guy that certainly deserves a recognition. He's given this program all he has these last few years, and disappointing not to see him dressed today, but he's been dealing with some physical issues over the course of the season. It's affected his production this year, and it's also affected this offense's output, as he's certainly one of their most talented players.
Just over a minute to play. Freeman will be brought down as the clock continues to run. This Civil War history between Oregon and Oregon State, the second most points in the series. Remember how far back this goes to 1894 when it first began, the 119th meeting. And Oregon, Mark Alford saying, let's finish this thing up. It'll be the 8th straight win for the Ducks in the series head-to-head. Vernon Adams victory formation with 366 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. And he said, hey, I wouldn't change anything. I don't regret all the moves, the injury 6 straight wins, 674 yards of total offense. And the Ducks will roll into the postseason after a battle with their rival Oregon State Beavers.
I don't know if there's a guy in this conference, in this Pac-12 conference, more deserving of Coach of the Year than Mark Helfrich. What an outstanding job to finish this season that he's done.
Let's take a look at the Dr. Pepper one-of-a-kind play of the game. And it was tight. Vernon Adams delivered. And Bralon Addison, his 4th touchdown of the game. That took a 3-point game and made it a 10-point game so that Oregon could hang on to win. That's a one-of-a-kind Dr. Pepper play of the game. With Evan Moore, I'm Chris Myers, our entire crew. College football on FS1 continues with Rob Stone back in Los Angeles.